So again, like we say that it is a masterclass. Masterclass simply means I will be covering all the aspects that would be there, maybe around 90-95% of the it. Like instead of selecting a particular product or particular service from the retirement strategy perspective, retirement strategy is your goal. Ki bhai, I need to have a better retirement portfolio. But once we do that, it doesn't have one product. Products come all at the end of the spectrum, but you need to be aware of different products that are available in the market, because what happens and what we have also experienced in our recent past is that even defense officials after getting retired over the years see their colleagues investing in equities. Now they are looking at those colleagues who had already been investing in equities. Now there is a sense of FOMO. In that FOMO, they invest 4 lakhs, 5 lakhs, 10 lakhs rupees into equities, but they don't know how to approach it. So whether it is stocks, whether that is FDs. So I will also be covering where we make the one of the biggest mistakes while we invest in fixed deposits. So if we are retiring, we have money in our DSOPs. When we take money out, we put into say PPF account, and then we put money into FDs, and how that backfires also. That would be actually covered in. So many of the myth busters would be there. So just be in sync with me, and here we are starting the session. So again, because we are starting the session, being the masterclass, I can say that till now, or in many of the cases, what happens? So it is you in the between. And at the end, if you need to get some guidance, who is the first one you approach to? It could be the friend, it could be your chartered accountant, or it could be the relatives. Why? Because once you're sitting over the drinks in the evening, the friend tells कि यार आइडिया का शेयर में गोल्डमैन शैक्स पैसा डाल रहा था और उसने अनाउंस कर दिया है एंड आई हैव इन्वेस्टेड द मनी 16 रुपए का स्टॉक 22 रुपए का हो गया. So therefore automatically you think that this person is very good for getting an input or an advice or a guidance on it. Now the issue is when we are in a financial domain, same happens with relatives, same happens with CA. Chartered accountants are qualified for tax filing and not for wealth management, because wealth management also needs certain certifications and licenses to be compliant with in order to protect that. How that happens, or अगर हमें लगता है कि भाई taking a mutual fund or taking a government bond or taking a normal bond or a fixed deposit is a very simple thing. This presentation would be an eye opener for you, so that it will give you a different perspective of approaching it, so that you don't end up burning fingers for that matter. So therefore, to set the tone of the event, let me tell you, if you are not serious about the money, you will never have serious money. So when you're talking about the retirement, it's a serious business. Till now, for last 30 or 40 years, you had been working hard for the government of India, for the country, and you were getting paid for it. Now you have to work for your own self and make sure that the money you are having, अब कहते हैं ना कि सरकार 30% टैक्स नहीं ले रही है, सरकार 30% कमीशन ले रही है आपसे on whatever the income you make, whether that is real estate. आपका real estate में 20% लगा दिया, 12.5% LTCG लगा दिया, indexation और 20% हटा दिया, all those things. So therefore, what does this mean? So this means in your approach, you need to be serious. If you're not serious about it, then you won't be able to make a sustainable returns. You can hit a one or two knock off. That is okay, but you can't be sustainable over a longer period of next 20-25 years of your retired life. Standard disclosures and disclaimers. Whatever I am saying here is not a product recommendations, because each and every one of you would be different. Your responsibilities would be different. Although many of you would be retiring maybe at the same pay scale, same rank, maybe same income, but your family responsibilities would be different, needs would be different, aspirations would be different, and also your experience and psyche will be different. So therefore, none of it should be construed as an investment advice. So you need to connect with your broker, agent, advisor, whomsoever, is in order to drill down on actually what is very good for you. So whatever I am showing here is the crux of the last 20 to 30 years of my experience, and presenting it in a very structured manner. So therefore, when I talk about myself, I am an engineering information technology from the University of Pune, way back in 2006. 2005 pass out, and then I did my PGDM marketing from Balaji Institute of Telecom Management, from which was set up by Colonel S. Balasubramaniam, first honorary colonel of India. And after that, I had been banker. So let me resume here. So I'm an engineer in information technology. Way back in 2005, I did my PGDM in marketing from Balaji Institute. I have been a banker at HSBC and HDFC Bank. So in case of, say for example, just a second, we have this and we have this. Okay. So, in case of this, we had in case of HDFC, yeah, banker with HSBC and HDFC. So my experience has been from 2008 onwards. I started with HDFC Bank in 2008. I was into retail branch banking. That means जहाँ आपके accounts open होते हैं, mutual fund, stocks, वो सब होता है. Then in HSBC, which was into primarily into wealth management and advanced wealth management techniques. So it was in 2010. 2011 December when I left HSBC and started my own practice. So since 2011 December till now, we have been working as a boutique wealth firm. So if I may tell about the personal accomplishments in a sense that I over the period of last 15 to 20 years, based on the body of work that I have done, I have been featured across various media houses. And even 2 days back, I was on Times Now when the budget was out at around 2 p.m. And I was at CNN 18, News 18 when it was out there. When we talk about the institutional engagements, where I have been a speaker or where do I speak, I have been engaged in various institutions like Government of Western Australia, embassies of Vietnam, Ethiopia. Then you have the Delhi Police. We have done events for Delhi Police officers. We have done for MNGL, Mahanagar Gas Limited, Gas Authority of India Limited, Indian Medical Association, Indian Radiological Associations, Paras Hospitals, and many others. We have also been associated with Rotary, HCL, Wipro. We have done events with Wipro, where country head of Wipro had come and we had done certain cross-border event for investors who wanted to invest into Vietnam. And we had also roped in big business houses in that. So if I may say about the types of events we have conducted, like this is like a webinar or a masterclass. Apart from that, we have also done investment conclaves. We have done trade delegations. We have taken trade delegations to various embassies. We have done investor awareness programs with which different institutions, non-profit events we have done. We have been into roundtable discussion with Saurabh Mukherjee, if you have seen that leading author and the fund manager. He's they're into also venture capitalist. So that is how we have been doing. Now, if I talk about the expertise, I'm having a very exhaustive expertise in the domain of wealth management. And when we talk about the wealth management, the whole system of wealth management is not only the wealth management, but it has a different aspects to it. Now, let me show you how it happens. So when you look as a wealth management or investment as a domain, this is what comes. So when we talk about the comprehensive expertise that I am having, so for that, there is investment management, wealth management, retirement strategy. So when you are looking at your portfolio, normally what you do, okay, I want to invest in mutual funds, I want to invest in stocks, or I want to take an FD, or I want to do this, or I want to do that. But when you're approaching it, you are actually at the last step. You are not at the start point of the thinking. You are not charting a roadmap for you. So what does that mean? That means if you're looking at investment management perspective, so if you're looking at an investment management perspective, then you have different assets there. You have stocks, you have mutual funds, government bonds, NPS, fixed deposits, pre-IPO, securities lending and borrowing, AIFs and all. So investment management means you are managing your investments across different products. So you would say, okay, I have an FD, I have mutual fund, I have stock. So you are doing an investment management. So if you do not have any strategy, but you are investing, if you have no plan to how you are, if you have not written down how you're going to be plus 1 crore in your portfolio, plus 50 lakhs in your portfolio, then you are just doing investment management and not wealth management. So then what is wealth management? So wealth management comes, what do you want out of your portfolio? So I want a capital growth or I want a capital preservation. So when I talked about the high net worth individuals, what they do in India is they don't look at capital growth, they look at capital preservation, because high net worth individuals always have sufficient money. So वो ये नहीं कहते कि भाई मुझे लाख से 10 लाख बनाना है. That a lower income 25,000 rupees earning person in his 20s or 30s would be doing कि stock में डाल दिया, I want to have a capital growth. But for a person who is retiring or a person who is a high net worth individual, but even in his 40s or 50s, the capital preservation is his strategy. Then obviously the asset protection, income growth, portfolio diversification, risk management, all these aspects come into the wealth management. So now the point I am referring is, why I am referring is how are you looking at these things? Are you looking, what was your way of looking at your investments or savings? Where we're looking at a standalone asset size like stocks, FDs, mutual fund, then you are following an investment management rule. But if you are really serious about managing it with full control, then your approach has to be wealth management. And even within wealth management, if you say that I want capital preservation and income growth, if I want these two strategies, okay, if I want these two strategies, then my retirement, then in that case, my objective is retirement strategy. So in that case, there should be a lifestyle planning, there should be annuity management, distribution planning, pension planning, systematic withdrawal. So what does this mean? Lifestyle planning means obviously from defense to civilian life while I am transitioning and my salary structure has come down, I have to also reorient my lifestyle according to the new thing. Annuity management means what is the cash flow I am getting in. I might still have a loan on my head. I would be buying some property of around 1 crore or so. So then in that case, how I will ensure that my annuity is able to take care of my own, and also I do have a sufficient liquidity with me. Distribution planning means I want to distribute the money out from my savings. So I might have a corpus of 2 crore or a crore or a 4 crore. I would now want to withdraw money. So that is called as distribution planning. But once this distribution planning happens in a systematic manner, कि भाई ठीक है, मुझे say 75,000 or a lakh rupees coming to me from pension, I need 50,000 more. That 50,000 is fixed every month. So therefore, that is called as systematic withdrawal plan. Now, these are just the methods or the strategies. So these are not the products. So even if you look at this slide, whether I'm talking about investment management, wealth management, or retirement management, in the next two, this means wealth and retirement, there is no product involved. This is what you want out of your investments. So once you decide what you want of your investment, then we will come into investment management. So then that will be the next part of it. Again, we are into the retirement planning. Whatever we get or whatever we do, there will be two things we need to take care of. Whatever the strategy we do, one will be tax planning and one will be the estate planning. So while we know that the Nirmala Sitharaman has not left us with much of the things with us, so therefore, in tax planning, there are broader four strategies. One is tax exemption, tax diversification, tax deference, and tax harvesting. This I will take later on once we are into this. And in estate planning, we have wills, trust, medical POA, and financial POA. This I will also take when we are looking at this section of this, what we say that the presentation. Now we are talking about what is the way forward. Now, here I have given a broader perspective of when you're looking at your money, how you should look at your money from the perspective, from the glasses of wealth management and retirement planning, and then you should decide how to way forward. And once we speak or connect, how is the way forward that we follow at our firm, that is the Finogent Solutions, where I am the managing partner of the firm. First and foremost, whenever we have a conversation with our client who is an inbound client, there is obviously a 1-by-1 meeting. So now here currently what is going on? It is 1:many. So I am here 1 and you are 40. So I am having a webinar. But since every one of you will be different, so if there is one-on-one meeting, so everything will be curated. So one product will not be suitable for you, another will be suitable for you. So that will depend upon one-on-one. So therefore, it will be based on two factors, your short-term and your long-term goals. Simple. Once we have a conversation, then the minutes of meeting are emailed to you along with a digital signature. So that means whatever has been discussed with you will be shared with you so that it is auditable and it is recorded, minutes of the meeting, in which both of the parties get digitally signed. And we know where we stand, what is the starting point of it, so that 6 months down the line, a year down the line, when we need to refer back and कि हर 6 महीने के बाद हमें portfolio revise करना है. So we need to know what we had decided last time. So that is the minutes of the meeting. Once that is done, for the first time, when you begin, there will be a formal letter of engagement. So letter of engagement means, okay, we had decided 10 things in the minutes of the meeting. But out of those 10 things, these are the 8 things or 7 things or 5 things we have decided to act upon. So whatever has been mutually decided to act upon, a formal letter of engagement is shared. Again, this is digitally signed. Once this is signed, we await your confirmation. But while you do this, now this is key. Okay, now we know that what is our common ground of work. So my scope of work has been fixed. Once we do that, we will get a main thing personalized for you. Once that personalization is done, your demat account is opened. Say, for example, in case only those who want to have a stock portfolio, we do it with the SMC Global Broking as an authorized person. And if you want to go for mutual funds, we open it at BSE MF Star, जो कि Bombay Stock Exchange का mutual fund platform है, so on and so forth. So this is how it happens. So some might not go for DMAT, only go for mutual fund, or some might not go for mutual fund and only DMAT. Depends how you are. So you're totally free. In case you want to go for bonds, secondary bonds, for that DMAT is compulsory. Now, why we say that the DMAT account has to be opened with us? Because the point is, when we are into stockbroking, or when we are recommending you something and you have acted on it, so tomorrow if stock market swings by 1300 points up or 1300 points down, if your portfolio is at say ICICI Direct or HDFC Securities, we don't have an access to it. I don't know what your risk exposure has been, so we will not be able to either book profits or to cut losses. That is what the scene is. I will also show you some of the templates how we do it here in order to when we decide to do the profit booking, so that it becomes so that when your DMAT account is with us as an admin or as a trading, my trading team has an access to your portfolio, go on the terminal. What are the risks? What are the exposure limits there? Then we confirm with you, sir, these are your positions. Whether you want to go ahead or you want to stop, then you say okay, and then the actions will be done. Nothing of it, whether that is mutual fund, stocks, or bonds, will be done without your explicit consent. So once we make a personalized plan, we email to you. And once we email to you and you confirm, then they are punched. And then a confirmation is sent to you. So therefore, no investments will be made without your written consent. And this is the SEBI guidelines that everyone follows into the system. And we don't take POA. So many of the brokers, what they do, वो कहते हैं कि सर आप POA दे दो, हम अपनी तरफ से चलाते रहेंगे. That we don't do. We work on the approval basis from the client. Again, whatever I am saying, what I am doing, how we get compensated, how we get paid, we get paid from the income from the product providers. When we say that product providers, what does this mean? If you are taking an RBI bond from me or sovereign gold bond or an MF or stocks, these provide me an income or a commission of it. Now, say for example, if you're taking a liquid fund from me or an overnight fund, income is zero. अगर आप मेरे से आपने प्रॉपर्टी ली है, आपने प्रॉपर्टी बेची, say for example, if you had to take a 54 EC bond, capital gains बचाने के लिए, so here we are compensated by 0.08%. अगर हम MF की बात करते हैं, say अगर if I talk about debt funds, it will be ranging from 0.3% to 0.75%. If we talk about the equity, on an average 0.5% to 0.9% or so. It keeps on changing every year because depending upon AMCs. Say, for example, Aditya Birla Sun Life Digital India Fund. Digital India Fund at one time was given 1%, is now giving around 0.75%. But whatever the returns you are getting onto the portfolio will be adjusted net of all those things that you see. So it's just like you are getting a mother dairy pouch for say 26 रुपए का आपने दूध ले लिया है, तो दूध के अंदर जो 25 पैसा जो कमीशन जाता है दुकानदार को, सेम थिंग हैपेंस इन म्यूचुअल फंड्स और स्टॉक्स. दिस इज हाउ इट goes. And if you talk about stocks, it is 0.4%, and we take only about the delivery. And if you are doing intraday, which we don't do, if client wants to do on his own, is 0.04%. Again, this also depends upon the quantum of the investments you are having in terms of stock. So now the basic things start from here. Now here you have seen what the ecosystem looks like. Okay, how the ecosystem looks like. Now we are looking at what are the different asset classes, or do I know asset classes? I know wealth management समझ आ गया, I know retirement planning समझ आ गया, अब मेरे को investment management पे आना है. So I want to get into bonds, mutual funds and all. But it is like a landmine, it's like a landmine. So what does this mean? This means this is your landmine graph. It is your battlefield of investment battlefield. Now see, do you know what risk you are having in each asset class while you're investing? What does this mean? This is not comprehensive. It is just selected elements I have given, and मैं बस आपको बता दूंगा कि क्या. Say for example, we'll just take simple things. We are taking here, say for example, mutual funds. Okay, we are taking here mutual funds. Now mutual funds has the market risk. Stock market ऊपर गया, stock market नीचे गया, this will be impacted. It has a liquidity risk. Now you will say कि what is the liquidity risk in the mutual fund? हम तो invest करते हैं mutual fund पे और हम जब बेचें हमें मिल जाता है. ऐसा नहीं होता है. अगर वैसा होता, you have a case of Franklin Templeton. जब वो अपना जो इनका फ्रैंकलिन टेम्पल्टन का जो डेट फंड था जिसमें उन्होंने 25,000 करोड़ बाद में रिफंड किए थे ओवर 2 year पीरियड, तो लिक्विडिटी क्राइसिस आ गए थे. So there are many debt funds which are into segregated portfolio. So therefore, when you are investing into the mutual fund, there is a liquidity risk in that. Volatility नहीं होती है ज़्यादा इसमें क्योंकि mutual fund has 100 stocks. So in comparison to stocks which are open to volatility, mutual fund is less. So therefore, what is more impactable has been mentioned here. So now you have an interest rate risk. Say for example, RBI tomorrow increases the repo rate. The mutual funds will fall, equity fund will fall. Or it decreases, then the long-term gilt funds will rise. So there is an interest rate risk. If RBI changes the interest rates, the debt funds and the equity funds will vary. Again, there is a credit risk in terms of the debt funds, debt mutual funds. And in terms of the management, what does this mean management? Say for example, I don't know whether it is right or wrong. Recent news you would have read about QUANT. Quant MF जहां पे फ्रंट रनिंग हुई थी या उससे पहले एक्सिस का हुआ था. एक्सिस एमएफ में भी फ्रंट रनिंग हुई थी. सो दैट मींस व्हाट इज द मैनेजमेंट कंसर्न इज आल्सो देयर. सो अगर हमें लगता है कि भाई म्यूचुअल फंड में करते हैं, म्यूचुअल फंड सेफ है, तो मैंने आपको मिनिमम 1 2 3 4 इश्यूज बता दिए. सो अगर आप कहोगे कि बॉन्ड सही है, उसमें भी गवर्नमेंट बॉन्ड है, कॉर्पोरेट बॉन्ड है, परपेचुअल बॉन्ड है, देन आई विल से कि बॉन्ड में भी कुछ रिस्क है जिसको कहते हैं कॉल रिस्क. से फॉर एग्जाम्पल इफ यू हैव टेकन ए परपेचुअल बॉन्ड, परपेचुअल बॉन्ड होता है कि जिसकी इन्फिनिटी है, मतलब वो चलता रहेगा बॉन्ड. लेकिन जो बॉन्ड इशुअर है वो आपको कहेगा कि से 2026 पे मैं मार्च 30 को आपसे ये वापस खरीदूंगा, आई विल बाई इट बैक फ्रॉम यू. और 2032 पे आई विल बाई 50% हियर एंड आई विल बाई बैक. इट डजंट हैव अ मैच्योरिटी. So when you are investing into bonds, you can invest into government bonds, which is 1. You can invest into corporate bonds, which is 2. You can invest into callable bond, which is 3. You can invest into perpetual bond, which is 4. Now if you're investing into callable bonds और उन्होंने 2 dates दी है, हो सकता है कि वो वापस ही ना मांगे आपसे, so आपका पैसा अटक गया वहां पे. So if you think that bond investing is safer, then there are also risks to it. Interest rate risk होता है because with the rise in interest rate, yields will fall. ये हम आगे बताएंगे आपको जैसे मैं चलूंगा. So therefore, even debt funds, liquidity issue, interest rates, credit risk, inflation, because it cannot beat inflation. So obviously the inflation. So therefore, if you ask me, particularly with regard to perpetual or callable, there are certain issues. With regard to government of India bonds, there is a liquidity issue. आपने RBI floating rate bond लिया, वो आपको दे रहा है, say for example 8.12%, 7.25%. Now it is a 7-year bond. So आपने RBI का बॉन्ड लिया है 7.25% पे. नाउ अब आप कहोगे कि what does liquidity risk means? Liquidity risk means, say for example in 2024 December and 2025, RBI decides that we want to reduce the ROI, rate of interest या repo rate जिसे हम कहते हैं, and therefore जो इसकी जो RBI bonds की yield है अब वो 7.25% से reduce होके it has now come to 7%. Because it is a floating rate bond. RBI bond is a floating rate bond. So what does floating rate mean? Floating rate means every 6 months the rate of interest will get reset. So if it is a falling interest rate scenario, and even if you have taken a government bond, then you are having a liquidity risk because you cannot liquidate it when you need it. You have to wait for maturity. Point number 1. It also is open to the interest rate risk because interest rate has fallen down. So your coupons have fallen down. So this is the risk. So therefore, what I have shown here, if you think that I have invested in mutual fund and I have invested in bonds and I have invested in FDs and I know the game, but in that case, do you know the risk also? Because कोई ना कोई इन्वेस्टमेंट कहीं ना कहीं फंस जाती है. So therefore, the point is, it is better to know what you are getting into. So therefore, again, जो मैंने चीजें आपको explain की हैं that I have been mentioned here, market risk is potential for losses due to factors that affect the overall performance of financial markets. Liquidity means Risk that asset cannot be sold quickly, like RBI bond is an example here. Dividend risk, say for example, HDFC, for example, Balance Advantage Fund. People used to invest it for a 12% dividend. In 2020, there was a dividend risk where they reduced it to 6%, which had never happened in previous 5 years of COVID. Now, if you say that, okay, now the COVID is okay, what is the risk? So I had run the video before. If you know, on 16th of July, there was a news that came up. TCS, HCL, Infi, they have reduced their dividend payment amount by 38%. So FY24 में आपका dividend वो already कम कर दिए. So if you think that dividend risk can only happen when there is a problem in the stock market or problem in the economy, that is not there. Dividend risk can happen even if the company doesn't want to pay you the dividend. So that will impact the mutual funds paying you the dividend or even the stocks paying you the dividend. The company has decided to expand their operations, so therefore they are not going to pay you the dividend. So if you think that I have invested in dividend paying stocks like IOCL, BPCL, TCS, SBI, ITC, and I am okay with it, I will be assured of the dividend paying because these companies are there for last 75 years, then you are in the wrong. Now let me tell you, Vedanta had reduced the dividend by 83%. FY24. So if I'm not wrong, it was around 83,000 crore that they had given it, but now it was only 20,000 crore, something like that. These big figures had been. So therefore, what I have shown you, dividend risk can happen into the best of the markets. Volatility risk, we know that variation in the asset value that happens. Interest rate risk, I have already explained you. Credit risk means risk due to the debtor's non-payment of loan. Say, for example, you have a segregated portfolio. If you see many of you who would have investments in mutual funds, had invested in debt mutual funds, you will have some or the other SEGG, segregated debt funds portfolio. So these segregated debt fund portfolios are having a credit risk because there has been non-payment. Debt funds kya hai? You have invested into a debt fund and that debt fund has lent your money to corporates. So they are earning say 10% as an interest income, or you can say a loan income. Out of that 10%, they pay you 7 or 8%. This is what the debt funds are. Again, inflation risk, obviously the risk of inflation eating your money. Management risk means poor management. Like we have seen in case of Quant or Axis, where the front running had happened and it was not handled well. Company specific risk means the company has gone to the dumps. You had been a DHFL, आपने देखा हुआ है case, आपने Satyam देखा हुआ है case, and you have seen Yes Bank. So these are the risks that are present in the market. Now, here comes the main deal. Now we know that. Now here we know that we need to invest. We know that we do not have to follow the path of investment management, but we have to follow the path of wealth management or retirement planning. ये हमें पता चला. The second thing is we have seen the whole battlefield, and in the whole battlefield, what we have seen is that what are the risks, what products carry which type of risk, and I will also show as for each and every product as we go more deeper into your this. But to do all those things, we have our first step that comes up. That is managing your financial transition. So what does this mean? So here in this case, if I may say, okay. So here in this case, I may say that let's evaluate what you would be doing. Say for example, I am transitioning from defense to a civilian life, and I need to recalibrate. So for what is the first thing I need to be doing? What assets I have? Now these assets could be your PPF, EPF, or all those safe investments. Sorry. Okay, so we are talking about these will be your safe investments. Okay, this could be your FDs. This could be your PPF or gratuity, or it could also be your commutation. ये आपका करंट स्टेटस है. Now we are talking about future. So now what the question is? So if अब यहाँ तक तो ठीक था, because I was into defense, I know that I didn't had time and I didn't had knowledge and I was taking risk with my life. So मुझे अगला battlefront I didn't have to open. So therefore, what I have done is I was primarily into this. In some of the cases, I might have invested into mutual funds, stocks, bonds. The case would be different. However, in many of the cases, this would have been. So therefore, what is first? So you will have to reallocate to match the lower risk tolerance typical in retirement. Now, in your case, in defense case, it is a very typical case wherein you are already into a lower risk. You're already into a lower risk to a certain extent. Now you have to go into balanced but calibrated. What does this mean? This means Warren Buffett has said one thing. Somebody told me, sir, diversification is very good. Why do you invest in only 5 stocks or 10 stocks? Don't you know that diversification is good? Warren Buffett said one thing. Diversification is only for those people who don't know what they do. For the people who don't know what they are doing, diversification is for them. The people who know what they are doing and have the ample knowledge of it will never go for diversification, will go for optimization. Okay. So what does this mean? This means that now, since you have now time available with you, and with time, you will also get knowledge, obviously, from a credible source and not social media, from a credible certified source. Once you have the time, you have the knowledge, then you will create a robust portfolio. Now, if you want to have this robust portfolio, what you need to do? By pehli baat, we will go this way. Okay. So what will you do? What I have, assets. What is the outflow? Outflow, what is this? This is car, home, because once you're retiring, these will be the big expenses that will come one off. Uh, child, whether that is education or marriage. And not only this, even if the child has to take a home, then you have to support it with a, say, next 10 lakhs or a 20 lakhs for that. So you need to accommodate all these things. Now, if you're looking at a car, it has to be at every 5 year or a 7 year period. Then also you will have to see the trips. Now, when we're talking about the outflow, we have also have to see whether there is a long-term care. This I will come later on, because I will give you different perspective of it, which you never have thought. There are many expenses that will come in long-term care, which goes for next 10, 15, 20 years, and people don't know, and there's no cure for that. So therefore, so this is the first thing. What I have already, this you have to do, and what will be my outflow. So this is one and this is two you need to do. Once you do this, the second thing is that I have certain pensions coming in. Okay. There will be pension entitlements, how they will work, when you will receive the payments. So therefore, the battle plan says that you need to say, for example, don't dig a well when you are thirsty. You will not start making a gun once the battle starts. So what does this mean? Say, for example, you have 2 months or 6 months or 1 year. 1 year is the best. This is okay. This is firefighting. So what does this mean? So this means if you have 6 months or a year, what you should do? Pehli baat, once you have attended the session, the first thing you should be knowing everything about pension, in hand, lump sum, etc. Everything included, A to Z should be there. Second thing, now you know that, say for example, we are currently in July 2024, and you are retiring, say for example, Jan 2025. Now there are two things to it. You know that you are going to retire in January, and you know that currently you are in July. Ab, whenever the pension gets handed over or what amount gets handed over, this is a separate thing. This will happen at its own rate. जब वो सेशन लेंगे आपको डॉकेट देंगे, but you already know you have these 6 months to 1 year. So what will you do? You will start working on this, what I have. You will start working on A, what I have, and you need to do sessions with your advisor or a wealth manager कि भाई मुझे करना क्या है. Because इसमें सीन ये है, 2 to 3 sessions of exploration to know the path. कि मैं क्या लूं, मुझे किस तरह से करना है. Because if anything you decide, then you will have, say for example, you can say that, okay, for example, at retirement, I know that I would be getting, say for example, having a corpus of 2 crore, and I will be having a, say, pension of 75,000, for example. But I know that there is 6 months to it. But I won't wait कि भाई अब ये आ गया पैसा मेरे पास, अब मैं सीधा डाल दूं. No, but because I have 6 months and I still don't have, I have not received it. What I will do, I will take 10 lakhs, and I will, if I have not invested in mutual funds or stocks or at least I will have a discussion with an advisor. I will see what to do. If I am willing and I want to explore these things, only in case if I want to explore these things. I'm not saying that you should explore these things. Only if you want to explore these things, but you have no experience whatsoever. So therefore, you are going for a trial deployment. कि भाई मैं ट्राई कर रहा हूं. अब इससे क्या होता है, से आपके पास 6 महीने हैं, यू हैव ट्राइड योर डिप्लॉयमेंट. इस दौरान में आरबीआई अपना इंटरेस्ट रेट ऊपर भी करेगी, नीचे भी करेगी, मार्केट ऊपर भी जाएगा, नीचे भी जाएगा, बॉन्ड्स की यील्ड्स चेंज हो जाएंगी, दे विल गेट चेंज्ड, एंड यू विल हैव एन एक्सपीरियंस ऑफ द होल साइकिल. आपको एक पूरे साइकिल का एक्सपीरियंस हो जाएगा, एंड यू विल नो वेदर यू आर मेंट फॉर इट और नॉट, in case you are not never invested but you want to invest it, whether that is bonds, mutual funds and all. So this is where you should be knowing what your pension benefits are. Once you know it, and also what do you have, this is the first thing you should be doing. And this is these two slides, this one and this one, is 75 to 85% of your job, because if you don't know where you are going, you will not reach anywhere. So this is how it goes. Again, because you're retiring, many of your legal standings will change. You will have to change your wills, power of attorney, legal documents. You need to reflect new circumstances. You will have to see nominee kisme kya hai. Nominee is not the end beneficiary. Nominee is not the end beneficiary. What does this mean? This means that, say for example, because there are the different laws in this country, in case of the Hindu Succession Act, only life insurance or money back और पेंशन प्रोडक्ट्स बाय लाइफ इंश्योरेंस कंपनीज जैसे LIC होती है, तो उसके अंदर इफ यू हैव मेड समबडी एज ए नॉमिनी, this is a beneficiary. Now you can put a nominee, your son or a daughter, then your wife or your spouse will not get anything. This has been, if I'm not wrong, it was as per 2013 or 2016 finance act आया था उसके थ्रू हुआ. In rest of the cases, nominee is just a nominated person to take care of the assets and not a user or a person who takes benefits or enjoys the product. So therefore, he's not the end beneficiary. Simple things, nothing much about it, like called as a budgeting tips, because you will be shifting to the new life. You need to track and adjust expenses. You need to minimize debt. What does this mean? This means that if you had taken a home loan and there is an outstanding loan of around 60 lakhs prepaid, this means that you need to minimize the debt, because it is currently say at 8.5% and you are totally an FD investor. But if you are an equity investor, then the ball game changes. So you will have to minimize the debt based on which type of investor you are having. Understand and manage healthcare costs. And healthcare में सिर्फ ये नहीं होता, healthcare में सबसे बड़ी चीज क्या आती है? Say for example, there is a disease called the Alzheimer. I don't know the spelling and all, but Alzheimer is a disease. It takes 10 years to even get diagnosed, and there is no treatment, and it advances. Now since it advances, it needs care. Now since it needs care, it will need a therapist, it needs medical, it needs a 12 hour a person at home. It will cost you around 20, say for example 22,000 on an average per month. 2,20,000 per 10 months. So therefore 22, 22, 44, 60, 2, 6, 2, तो 2,62,000 आप ये पकड़ लो, 3 लाख रुपए आपका साल का खर्चा आएगा फॉर से फॉर एग्जांपल देयर ऑब्जर्व दैट पीपल लिव फॉर नेक्स्ट 20 years or 30 years with Alzheimer. So therefore if somebody in the family gets Alzheimer or had a history in the family history Alzheimer, so if you're having a 3 lakh of a per annum expense, this will get say for 10 years, so your 30 lakhs is going to wipe out na. I have not added inflation ki by 22,000 will also increase per year by say around 5%. I have not added that. So what I am saying that when you are linking your healthcare costs, it is not just what your CGHS or your defense or all those government agencies will cover. It covers many other things which are outside, which may or may not cover, which may or may not might not be covered. So that is what you mean. Saving for emergencies and long-term needs. Now, in all those things, now here we know the basic thing. That was a step number one. This was a step number one. Okay, managing financial transition. So if I have to transition into the civilian life, I have to be psychological ready what I have. I have to be psychological ready what I will be getting in terms of pension. I should be psychological ready. अब जब मेरे को पेंशन आ रहा है या मेरे पास एफडीज आ रही है, तो मेरे बैंक अकाउंट में पैसा ज्यादा आ रहा है, मैं इन्वेस्ट ज्यादा एसेट्स में करूंगा. सो आई माइट हैव put my son in one and daughter in other, but those FDs have been broken and now I am redoing the another FD. और उसमें पता चल गया मैं बेटे को डालना भूल गया, बेटी रह गई, बाद में 10 साल के बाद बच्चों में लड़ाई होगी कि भाई देखो बाप ने मेरे नाम पे रखा नहीं. So therefore what does this mean at this point in time where you have inflow and outflow of the money, inflow from pension, outflow in terms of home, car and etc., you need to get all these financial documents ready and handy, and this is ironclad. This has to be done. Again, budgeting tips, because this will streamline your money flow or the cash flow that you need to be having. Now, यहाँ तक तो ठीक है. But now whatever you do, how much better you planning, like in medical field, Dr. Naresh Trehan had said once, we were having a conversation and he said once कि 9 महीने तक तो हर औरत लड़के की माँ होती है. 9 महीने तक हर औरत तो लड़के की माँ होती है. वो तो जब बच्चा पैदा होता है तो पता चलता है कि लड़का है या लड़की है. So that means हमने जितनी भी स्ट्रेटजी की है वो कागज पे रहती है. But once the news comes into the market and once you are invested and the news comes in, then how will you manage your portfolio? There comes the tactical aspect of it. So Here when you are talking, here when we are talking about the tactical aspect of your investing, this means you need to identify the news. How you can identify the news? Now here, the point is every time we go through the CNN or we go through the news article, we don't know what it means for us. Now I will say you connect the dots with it. Now this news, if you see, Economic Times, debt mutual funds log in 2.3 lakh crore outflow in 2022 rate hike cycle. What does this mean? RBI, अब ये देखिए, now how it has impacted and how government has acted and to your disadvantage. ये न्यूज आप सबने पढ़ी है, लेकिन आपको ये नहीं पता कि आप पे इम्पैक्ट क्या हुआ है. सो 2022 में रेपो रेट इंक्रीज होता है, ठीक है. जैसे ही ये इंक्रीज होता है, उसकी वजह से क्या हो जाता है, देयर इज अ डेट फंड, डेट एमएफ, देयर इज एन आउटफ्लो. आउटफ्लो कितना गया, 2.23 लाख करोड़. Now, this outflow has happened, but this has not gone into equity mutual funds. This has not gone into FDs and all. It has gone into structured products. And also it has gone into, you can say, 10D, money back pension plans. Now you will say that why this has gone to 10D money back pension plans? What is the difference in it? Why? अब आप ये देखिए, you are reading the news, this money has gone out. So what you say, what does this money mean? This money means smart money. हमारा मनी तो बैंक अकाउंट में है ना, एफडीज में, म्यूचुअल फंड में, ये स्मार्ट मनी है. नाउ व्हाट डज दिस एंड वेयर हैज दिस स्मार्ट मनी गॉन देन? So now what section 1010D says? Section 1010D say for example, you are at a tax rate. You are at a tax rate of say 30%, for example. ठीक है. सो अब चाहे आप एफडी ले लो, इट विल बी टैक्स. आपको रेंट आ रहा है, इट विल बी टैक्स. ठीक है ना. डेट फंड्स है, डेट फंड्स पे भी इन्होंने वो टैक्सेशन हटा दी थी कि भाई आपको लॉन्ग टर्म भी आपके इस पे ऐड होगा, आपके इनकम टैक्स पे ऐड होगा, चाहे डेट म्यूचुअल फंड भी हो, तो डेट विल बी ऑल्सो बी टैक्स. ठीक है ना. So what people were doing, people were putting into 1010D. Now what does 1010D do? 1010D was telling, okay, say for example, you have an income of say, for example, 2 crore. यू हैव पेड 60 lakhs और इधर उधर सब करके आपने टैक्स दे दिया. सब कुछ करके आप कहते हो मेरे पास नेट सेविंग्स एनुअली मेरे पास हुई है 30 लाख की. से फॉर एग्जाम्पल आप कहो 30 लाख की मेरे पास नेट सेविंग्स हुई है. व्हाट पीपल यूज टू डू, दे यूज टू इन्वेस्ट फॉर लॉन्ग टर्म इन 1010D प्लान. से इस 30 लाख में से दे आर इन्वेस्टिंग 10 lakhs per annum. Now what people used to do, people used to either put it from say भाई मेरा savings portfolio है, savings portfolio से मैं हर दिन STP कर रहा हूँ, say for example. So what people used to do, so there was case 1 and there was a case 2. So what people were doing, those who had a lump sum of say for example 50 lakhs, what they were doing, they were taking 5 lakhs per year as a systematic withdrawal plan and putting it into 1010D. ठीक है. And after say X years, in this case let's put it at 17th year, आप 12 साल पे भी ले सकते हो, 10 साल पे भी ले सकते हो, आप 7 साल पे भी ले सकते हो, डिपेंड करता है. ठीक है ना. वी आर टेकिंग अबाउट 17 years. What would happen for this 5 lakh invested per annum, he would be getting 5 is a 17.5 lakhs per annum, 17.5 lakhs per annum. So that means if this money over 10 years, कमिटमेंट तो आज ही कर दी, और ये रिड्यूसिंग बैलेंस पे डेट फंड में पड़ा है या एफडी में पड़ा है या म्यूचुअल फंड में पड़ा है. सो एवरी डे, एवरी ईयर 5 lakhs फ्रॉम दिस 50 lakhs was taken out and this was invested through SWP या manually into 1010D. Once it was gone into 1010D, this 5 lakhs after 17th year or on 17th year onwards or 13th or 14th year onwards was given 17.5 lakhs per annum per year. So that means in 10 years, you had given 5 lakhs into 10 is equal to 50 lakhs and you have earned 17.5 lakhs into 10, 1.75 crore, I believe. 3 times. 1.75 crore. And the beauty is not you have earned this. The beauty is this was tax free. The beauty is that this was tax free. Now that is a reason, what the government did. Government ने क्या किया? Government ने कहा कि भाई 1010D में आप 5 लाख से ज्यादा नहीं लगा सकते, लेस देन इक्वल टू 5 लाख फॉर टैक्स बेनिफिट, टैक्स फ्री इनकम बेनिफिट। ये लगा दिया। आपने तो आज का देखा है, ये मैं बात कर रहा हूं अप्रैल 2023। आई एम टेलिंग यू हाउ टू रीड द न्यूज। अब यहां पे गवर्नमेंट ने कब किया? गवर्नमेंट ने ये अप्रैल 2023 को ब्लॉक कर दिया, ठीक है। लेकिन वहीं पे न्यूज पढ़िए, इंडियाज फर्स्ट 50 ईयर बॉन्ड फुली सोल्ड ऑन ग्रोइंग इंश्योरर डिमांड। ये न्यूज कब आई? 3 नवंबर 2023। अब आप बोलिएगा इस न्यूज का क्या मतलब है, और ये दो न्यूज कैसे है? So it doesn't need a forensic expert to know it. Now see what government is doing. If you think the government works for you, it doesn't work for you. It works for its own coffers. The reason is, let me tell you, what they had done is they had made any investment above 5 lakh taxable. ठीक है, so यहाँ पे उन्हें investment कम कर दी. Normally, whenever the government issues bonds for 30 years or at max 40 years. 30 ईयर के बॉन्ड होते हैं, 20 ईयर के बॉन्ड होते हैं, ठीक है, उससे ज्यादा नहीं होते। फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम गवर्नमेंट हैज रेज्ड 50 ईयर बॉन्ड। अब देखिए क्या है, दिस इज गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया, व्हाट इट हैज डन। दिस इज एन इंश्योरेंस कंपनी लाइक LIC फॉर एग्जांपल, एंड हियर आर यू। टाई पहनी है हमने, हम टाई पहन के खड़े हैं, ओके। सो गवर्नमेंट ने क्या किया? गवर्नमेंट ने LIC को कहा है कि आई एम गिविंग यू 50 ईयर बॉन्ड, ठीक है, यू सेल इट टू इन्वेस्टर। मैं आपको इस पे 7.5% दूंगा, ठीक है ना। आप मुझे, मैं आपको 50 साल के बॉन्ड बेच रहा हूं, आप मेरे को पैसा रेज करके दो। व्हाट गवर्नमेंट डिड? गवर्नमेंट सोल्ड 50 ईयर बॉन्ड टू इंश्योरेंस कंपनीज। इंश्योरेंस कंपनीज सोल्ड दीज टू अस लाइक इन्वेस्टर्स, रिटायरीज, की 50 ईयर बॉन्ड है, एंड कहते वी विल पे यू 7.4% फॉर एग्जाम्पल, ठीक है। सो व्हाट यू हैव डन, यू हैव गिवन योर प्रीमियम हियर, you have given your premium to LIC and LIC has paid the premium here, ठीक है। नाउ इन्वेस्टमेंट तो हो गई, अब तो इनकम आएगी ना, इनकम, इंटरेस्ट। नाउ दिस इंटरेस्ट पेमेंट वाज देन मेड, और ये यहां से गया। जब ये यहां से जब ये यहां से इंटरेस्ट गया, इसको उन्होंने टैक्सेबल बना दिया। So that means what is government do? Government is printing the money. Government is printing 50-year bond, asking the LIC to buy it, sell it to the retirees. I am paying you 7.5% interest on it to guarantee the retirement income of the retirees. And the retirees, whatever the amount they will get as a pension, will be taxed. अब ये 50 साल का बॉन्ड गवर्नमेंट ने आपके लिए बनाया है या अपने लिए बनाया है कि दे शुड बी गेटिंग द टैक्स फॉर 50 years. So government is getting the tax for the next 50 years. So this is one example of how you should be able to connect the dots. So once this news had come in and this April mein hua tha, so there the investors would have to take a call on what should be the next line of action in terms of the portfolio management. So this is just one aspect of it. So the same news had come in terms of the solar panels. वो अलग चीज है, that is for equity investors, but that I will discuss some other time. So therefore, what does this mean? This means you should be knowing if government is putting new tax regime and making everybody go for it. They have already taxed the EPF, they have already taxed the debt funds, they have taxed the long term of your real estate, removal of 1010D. So what is the next thing they will be doing? They will be doing the wealth tax. This is coming. They will remove HUF, Hindu Undivided Family Account का benefit भी हटा देंगे ये. This is all incoming. So therefore, as an investor, you should be knowing what their next steps could be, what from where they will be able to get more and more money. So you should be able to read through the news. Only then you will be able to make decisions. I can come into the portfolio construction stream just in the first 2 slides, but that won't serve any purpose because then you will be falling into every second ditch that comes with all other regulatory crackdown that comes into the market. Okay. So now we are talking about the real estate tax आ गया है, short term capital gains आ गया, long term capital gains आ गया. I won't do much on it because on taxation I will take in another section, but एक perspective दे देता हूँ मैं आपको कि what your approach should be. So because it is a tactical war, so we are looking at an approach. So what our approach should be? पहली बात है कि भाई whatever the case will be, cribbing has not to be done. This will not make me money or save me money. खत्म बात. This is the first strategy. No cribbing. रोना धोना नहीं है. The second thing we need to do is, अब देखो, for example, we are talking about real estate. Now, issue was that real estate was giving us the very good arbitrage. जिसको हम कहते हैं टैक्स आर्बिट्राज की फायदा होता था कि भाई इंडेक्सेशन हो गया, ये हो गया, वो हो गया. एंड द बेस्ट पार्ट ऑफ इट इज कि अगर रियल एस्टेट की बात करो कि 25 लाख की प्रॉपर्टी आपकी 1 करोड़ की हो गई है, आपने 1 करोड़ की प्रॉपर्टी ले ली, वो 4 करोड़ की हो गई है. सो देयरफॉर द गेन्स सीम टू बी ह्यूमंगस. अब इन सब पे टैक्स लग गया. सो देयरफॉर व्हाट यू शुड बी डूइंग, और वेयर द मनी विल नाउ गो. सो इफ दिस, पहली बात है, वन इज लाइक सेल्फ होम. लेकिन अब अगर आप रियल एस्टेट इन्वेस्टमेंट की बात करते हैं और जो बेटर रेवेन्यूज आएंगे, दैट विल बी रियल एस्टेट इन्वेस्टमेंट ट्रस्ट, INVTs. इसमें मैं एक और चीज बताता हूँ, काफी लोगों को पता नहीं होता है. व्हाट स्मार्ट पीपल यूज्ड टू डू वाज दैट कि जो भी रेंटल आता था उनको, वट एवर द रेंटल यूज टू कम फ्रॉम से होम, सेकेंड होम, ये इनकम टैक्स में, सॉरी, ये इनकम टैक्स में दे यूज टू शो इट एज बिजनेस इनकम. नाउ व्हाट यू वुड से कि भाई आई एम एन इंडिविजुअल, so why I am showing it as a business income? They were showing it as a business income because if you show it as a business income, you will subtract expenses. So if I am getting a 50,000 per month of rent, which is taxed at my marginal tax rate at say 20% or at 30%, I will, yeah, even 30% pakal ro, I will take it as a business income. And in the business income, say for example, I have a 6 lakhs of annual income. I will show 3 lakhs of my expenses. Then I am only showing my income, net income of 3 lakhs, and I am paying tax on only 3 lakhs. So what the government has done, government has said that कि भाई आप इसको business income दिखा ही नहीं सकते हो residential property को. It is showing as other income. So this has also happened now. So therefore, what an investor could do, they can follow the rules which are in USA or UK or Australia. You can form, as say for example, the people who invest in real estate or have a panache for investing in real estate, they can go for a SPVs, which will have all real estate or even investments. If you have a bigger portfolio at a family level, they can make an SPV and show the all returns as a business income and minus all the expenses that would be there. So now this is for those who have a huge portfolio at a family level and want to remove the taxes. So this is an advanced method in which you can save the tax. As far as short-term capital gains tax जो आ चुका है, say for example 20%, which was earlier 15%. So what will you do? You will do tax loss harvesting. This will lead to lower or nil tax outflow. This I will show outflow. This I will show later on in the subsequent slides. Again, in LTCG, you can have tax loss harvesting and all those benefits. So, but in all these things, what has happened is, in all the things, what is the central idea? What is the premise? The premise is now only portfolio performance matters now. Only portfolio performance matters. No tax arbitrage and no other all those shady rules and regulations that are there. So therefore, if you need to know what the approach should be, it should be a very good say for example, you are investing for 4 years or 5 years, 6 years. Now, if you want to invest for 6 years and want to go for a PPF route and you are getting say 8% returns on it, then baat khatam hai na. अगर आपको 8 साल डालना ही है, then it's better to go for an index fund for that matter. But then you also need to have that psyche to go for it. Otherwise, government will be taking out the money from you. Okay, now second, we are talking about the third step, which is called as, okay, now everything set and done, because now we are constructing at the third stage where we need to structure our portfolio for the retirement income. I need a steady retirement income. Okay, so what options I do have? Say for example, now the next slide will be very important. इसके बाद वाली. So what do you look for a normal dividend income? Dividend income में है, I should get good dividends. And I will select companies or funds that give the highest dividends. Okay, now for a retail investor, it's a simple thing. भाई ठीक है, IOCL, BPCL, TCS, फलाना ढिमकाना उठा के रख लो, हो गया, मेरा डिविडेंड पोर्टफोलियो बन गया. हमें वेल्थ मैनेजर की जरूरत क्या है, या हमें रिसर्च करने की जरूरत क्या है? कंपनीज तो अच्छी हैं, बट आई हैव शोन यू दैट वेदांता हैड रिड्यूस्ड the dividend from by 83%, and 38% reduction in the dividend has been reduced by HCL, TCS, and Infosys in FY24. So therefore, what does this mean? This means, so if you need to understand the dividend investing, you need to see first thing, which type of companies you are considering. Small caps, mid caps, large caps, strong companies, weak companies, which type of companies? Here we have taken from small caps to the large caps. So here we have taken the company with a market capitalization of 500 million and above. Now this is not the only, this is the market capitalization. भाई ठीक है, जैसे हम कहते हैं ना 10 लाख करोड़ या पता नहीं कितने बिलियन डॉलर की मार्केट कैपिटलाइजेशन रिलायंस की. That is the one thing, भाई how much is the total worth of the company. But we also have to see the companies that I am selecting, what is the dividend yield, what is the dividend they are giving. So they are giving dividend. अब I have to select only those companies जो कम से कम बैंक अकाउंट से तो ज्यादा दे. कैपिटल एप्रिसिएशन होती रहेगी. से मैंने एसबीआई का शेयर लिया है, दैट इज गिविंग मी 8% एनुअलाइज्ड कंपाउंडेड ग्रोथ, दैट इज ओके. But what is the dividend that I'm getting in my home? So therefore, the dividend yield would be around 3.5. Now, what does the dividend yield means? Dividend yield means 2023 में कोई स्टॉक 50 रुपए का था, अब 2024 में वही स्टॉक 100 रुपए का हो गया है, और 2025 में वही स्टॉक 200 का हो गया है, क्योंकि वो चीजें चल रही हैं फटाक से. ठीक है ना. कंपनी जो डिविडेंड देती है वो फेस वैल्यू पे देती है. फेस वैल्यू मींस कंपनी का एक समझो एक यूनिट होता है, उस यूनिट पे देती है जिस पे इशू होता है, उस पे हम नहीं जाएंगे. तो सपोज आप ये कर लो कि कंपनी क्या देती थी, कंपनी देती थी आपको 10 रुपए का डिविडेंड हर साल देती है. ठीक है ना. यहाँ भी उससे 10 रुपए का डिविडेंड दिया, यहाँ भी 10 रुपए का डिविडेंड दिया, यहाँ भी 10 रुपए का डिविडेंड देगा. अब ब्यूटी देखिए क्या है. ब्यूटी ये है, इफ यू हैड इन्वेस्टेड इन द कंपनी इन 2023, आपका कॉस्ट क्या था, 50 रुपया. तो 50 रुपए के ऊपर 10 करिए 1/5, 20% आपकी डिविडेंड यील्ड है, जिसको हम एफडी का रिटर्न कहते हैं, एफडी का रिटर्न. ठीक है ना. अब वहीं पे अगर आपने 2024 में इन्वेस्ट किया, तो आपने क्या किया, 10 रुपए ही देती है कंपनी आपको, क्योंकि वो फेस वैल्यू पे देती है, और आपको 10 रुपए मिले क्योंकि कंपनी का जो अभी का शेयर प्राइस है दैट इज अराउंड 100. सो दैट इज अराउंड 10%. Now in 2025, you have invested into the company, but the company share price has become 200. It has doubled. The stock has doubled, and now you have invested, but company is giving the same amount of dividend. So now it is around 5%. So what does this mean? This means we are looking at company because we are investing now. We are investing now. We are not investing prior. So आज की डेट में मैं वो देखूंगा, आज के प्राइस पॉइंट में कम से कम I will be investing in those companies which are giving me a dividend yield of 3.5% and above. Now, that is not only the case. I will also have to see कि at least these companies are continuously paying the dividend for the 3 years. Second thing, future dividend yield भी 3.5% से ज्यादा होनी चाहिए. ये तो trailing 12 months है. This is last 12 months. I am also seeing that indicated. That means future. Future dividend yield should also be more than 3.5%. ठीक है. Now, you are getting, these companies are paying dividends for the last 3 years, but you also have to see that the dividends, say for example, this is 2023, this is 24, and this is 25. ठीक है. यहाँ पे दिया, यहाँ पे दिया, यहाँ पे दिया. So आप देख रहे हो मेरे को तो 10 ही रुपए मिल रहा है. So you also have to see that there has to be a continuous dividend growth. That means अगर last year they had given 10 rupees of the dividend, इस साल they give 15 rupees, then they give 20 rupees. So even the dividend has to grow. So therefore, the dividend amount also has to grow. So there has to be increase in dividend. There has to be continuous continuity in terms of the time and in terms of the amount. So therefore, you need to select which type of companies you want to get into. What is the minimum dividend you are expecting past, expecting future. The dividend should be continuously paid over the 3 years. It should be increasing every year. When we put these criterias, please note that when we put these criterias, it is Power Grid Infrastructure INVT Investment Trust, Mindspace. This is an REIT, Real Estate Investment Trust, which is an alternative for real estate investments. And there is the Indian Oil Corporation. Only these three qualify these factors. So therefore, their dividend yield are, ये आज का डेटा है, आज का मीन्स लास्ट ट्रेडिंग डे, फ्राइडे का डेटा है. So 12% dividend yield is provided by Power Grid Infrastructure Trust. 5.47 is also given by the Mindspace. IOC is given this. Now you also have to see how much stronger the company is. The company is continuously giving for. अब ये देखिए continuous dividend payout. Since how many periods they have given it? Indian Oil Corporation for the last 8 years they have been continuously paying the dividend. 4 years, Mindspace has been giving the dividend. Power Grid has been giving for the 3 years. Dividend per share the dividend annual year on year growth क्या रही है? 4% से ये बढ़ता रहा है, ये 200% से बढ़ता रहा है, ये 300% से बढ़ता रहा है. This is how they have given it. So what is the future? Currently dividend yield is 12.2. We are expecting it to be 12.51. We are expecting it to be 5.67. We are expecting it to be 6.79. So IOCL currently is at 4.52, but we expect it to give us 7% of the dividend, apart from the capital gain that you will be getting it. Oh, and obviously the market risk are there because it is an equity. So therefore, what I have shown you, so dividend investment is not कि भाई मैंने 10 shares उठा लिए और मैंने एक डाल दिए. Is there any Vedanta in it? No. Is there any HCL in it? No. Is there any TCS in it? No, because that they don't qualify certain criteria, because they have gone up so much that even the dividend yields doesn't fix that. So now, when we are talking about generating a steady income, the first avenue we have seen there is the dividend. Okay. And we have seen what is happening. Then the second thing, we are looking at the bonds. So what we are looking at? We are looking at bonds. Ki bhai, just say for example, you have an RBI bond. And you say that RBI floating rate bond is giving me say around 7.25 or 8.15% return. But it has a lock-in. So tell me, if I'm not a stock investor type of a person or a dividend investor type of a person, I'm a bond investor or FD investor. So what for me as an FD investor is best alternative for generating a regular income? Okay, now this obviously is taxed, and there are also tax free. So what you will see? So as an investor, what you will look at? So I will tell you. So again, here you are with a tie, and we are smiling, and I want to go for bond. I will go for amount that I want to invest into. I want to go for rate of interest that I will be getting into, and I will be going for a tenure. कि भाई 3 साल का बॉन्ड है, 5 साल का बॉन्ड है, 10 साल का बॉन्ड है, क्या बॉन्ड है? दिस इज नॉर्मली आई सी. ज्यादा से ज्यादा मैं और देखूंगा कि भाई ये AAA रेटिंग का बॉन्ड है, AA रेटिंग का बॉन्ड है, क्या है? दिस इज नॉर्मली 99% ऑफ अस सी. इवन वो भी नहीं देखेंगे, हम देखेंगे कि भाई मुझे बॉन्ड में इन्वेस्ट करना है और मेरे को ROI क्या मिल रहा है. बिकॉज मैं लॉन्ग टर्म इन्वेस्टर हूं, मुझे बाकी कोई चीज मैटर नहीं करती, मुझे ये देखना है. 80% केसेस में पीपल डू दिस. हाउएवर, when you look at bond, you need to understand what is your investment purpose. You will not just jump into the bond because bond is giving you a return. So firstly, you will have to see, because अब ये depend करता है how much liquidity you need, how much money you have, how much of the risk appetite you are having. Do you want to go for higher safety? Higher safety means low returns. Or you want a returns higher than FDs? डू यू वांट ए टैक्स फ्री रिटर्न्स? नहीं, मुझे टैक्स फ्री ही चाहिए. अगर आपको टैक्स फ्री चाहिए तो 5.17% का टैक्स फ्री बॉन्ड्स हैं NHAI के आजकल चल रहे हैं, एंड वो 2032 तक चलेंगे, 2022 तक. सो नाउ अगेन इट नाउ हैज कम कि आई नीड टू गेट ए टैक्स फ्री रिटर्न्स. नाउ व्हेन आई इन्वेस्टिंग इनटू ए बॉन्ड, व्हाट इज द टेन्योर? शुड आई गो फॉर a short term or a long term? For stock trade, I am not going to go for this. Now, do you want to have a tax exemption in case you want to invest through an HUF? और यू आर एन एनआरआई एलिजिबल बॉन्ड्स, या मेरे बच्चे हैं, बच्चों ने इन्वेस्ट करना है बॉन्ड में, वो एनआरआई है, सिंगापुर में रहते हैं या यूएस में रहते हैं, सो दे वांट टू इन्वेस्ट इनटू समथिंग बॉन्ड्स इन इंडिया, क्योंकि बॉन्ड इंडिया में बॉन्ड्स की यील्ड्स अच्छी चल रही है, सो दे वांट टू इन्वेस्ट, सो आर देयर सम बॉन्ड्स व्हिच आर एलिजिबल फॉर एनआरआई, बिकॉज मेनी आर नॉट। सो ये तो आपका पर्पस है। सो अगेन व्हाट आई हैव शोन यू, इट इज नॉट कि बॉन्ड इन्वेस्ट इज नॉट इनटू कि आई वांट टू गेट इनटू बॉन्ड, सो आपने कोई भी बॉन्ड उठाया और इन्वेस्ट किया। सो फर्स्टली यू नीड टू नो व्हाई। ये वही होता है कि 25 साल शादी के बाद वाइफ कहेगी तुमने मेरे से ही शादी क्यों की, व्हाई। तो ये वो इन्वेस्टमेंट पर्पस है। तो yeah. So here we have seen that what is the investment purpose we are having. Now, second comes the credit rating. So whether we want to go for government securities, or we want to go for AAA rated, or we are going to go for a AA, A or below yield. So these are the credit rating. But normally what happens when we as an investor look at bonds, we look at yield. कि भाई मुझे 8% की yield आ रही है, 9% की आ रही है, क्या आ रही है, we will also see that in next slide. So therefore, our first parameter technically as an investor to select a bond is based on the ROIs that we have. Again, when we're talking about the bonds ये नहीं होता कि भाई कौन से bonds आए हैं. So you also have to know which type of bonds you want to take, which you want to prefer. गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया के बॉन्ड्स होते हैं, स्टेट गवर्नमेंट्स के होते हैं, विच वी स्पीक अबाउट एज स्टेट डेवलपमेंट लोन्स, स्टेट गवर्नमेंट गारंटीड बॉन्ड्स, पब्लिक सेक्टर अंडरटेकिंग, दैट मींस एसबीआई के बॉन्ड्स आ गए आपके, या पीएनबी बैंक के बॉन्ड्स आ गए, वो आ गए, टायर 1 टायर 2 बॉन्ड्स आ गए, पब्लिक सेक्टर अंडरटेकिंग लाइक ओएनजीसी है, उस टाइप के बॉन्ड्स आ गए, प्राइवेट सेक्टर बैंक या यस बैंक के बॉन्ड्स हैं, या एचडीएफसी बैंक के बॉन्ड्स है, कॉर्पोरेट मींस डीएचएफएल हो गया आपका, एचडीएफसी जब मर्ज नहीं हुआ था बैंक के साथ, वो पकड़ लिया, ये बजाज फाइनेंस पकड़ लीजिए, एनबीएफसी आ गए आपके। Now we are talking about investment amount. Now, in many cases, in majority of the cases, it is between 10 to 15 lakhs. In some cases, it is 5 to 10 lakhs. So you will also have to see which type of. So you might be willing for taking as a public sector bank, but they would say, okay, minimum amount is 10 lakhs. So this will also depend upon which type, how much amount you want to put as a tranche in that. Again, different bonds have different frequencies. Some give annually, some give monthly, some give quarterly, half yearly, and maturity. So you will also see which type of tenure fix your needs or expenses. Obviously, how much tenure is remaining. Now, say for example, you are going for a rural electrification corporation bond. It is giving you 7.48%. Okay, and there will be another bond which will be giving about 7.36. Now you will say why this is so. This technically would be for normally a longer duration, unless and until there is not an inverted yield curve. वो मैं आपको बाद में बताऊंगा क्या होता है inverted yield curve. तो लॉन्ग टर्म से सपोज फॉर एग्जांपल लॉन्ग टर्म बॉन्ड की यील्ड थोड़ी सी ज्यादा होगी, शॉर्ट टर्म की यील्ड थोड़ी सी कम होगी, बिकॉज अभी लोअर इंटरेस्ट रेट सिनेरियो है, सो इम्पैक्ट कम पड़ता है. सो देयरफॉर व्हाट आई एम वांटिंग टू से इज when you are looking at the tenure, you can also see कि अब आपको कि रजत tenure का फर्क कहाँ पड़ता है. Why tenure is so important? Because anyways I don't need money. Say for example, I don't need money for 5 to 10 years. I just need a coupon or an income out of it. I don't need money. So therefore, why the tenure matters? Say for example, you have taken a secondary bond and you have taken with, say for example, on an average 10-year maturity. Now tomorrow, if RBI says that we are reducing the repo rate by 0.25%, what does this mean? This means अगर RBI ने 0.25 repo rate reduce किया, and if your say bond was at, you were already invested into it, you are already invested into a bond with 10-year bond, so your yield was around 7.5%. Okay, now the RBI has decided कि 0.25% reduce होगा, तो आपकी yield प्लस 1.25% से बढ़ जाएगी. तो ये 5 आ गया, 7 आ गया, 8.75. सो योर न्यू यील्ड 8.75% will be your new yield. Because when the interest rate falls, the yield of the bond increases. वो होता क्या है, say for example, जितने भी bonds हैं मार्केट में वो तो ऑलरेडी छप चुके हैं. ये आपको बॉन्ड जो है, ये मैं आपको अगले में दिखाऊंगा कि बॉन्ड दिखता कैसा है, बॉन्ड में रेट, कूपन रेट कैसे लिखा होता है. ये बॉन्ड तो ऑलरेडी मार्केट में है. अब ये बॉन्ड तो ऑलरेडी प्रिंट हो गया है. अगर आरबीआई ने क्या किया, आरबीआई ने अगर रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट कम किया, रेपो रेट कम किया, इसका मतलब है जो न्यू बॉन्ड्स होंगे, अगर मैं आरईसी का ही कहूं, आपने जो आरईसी का लिया है, आपने लिया है 7.5%। जो नए बॉन्ड आएंगे वो 7.25% पे इशू होंगे, न्यू बॉन्ड। तो इन्वेस्टर क्या कर लेगा, बिकॉज ऑफ डिमांड एंड सप्लाई गैप इसकी यील्ड बढ़ जाती है, बिकॉज ऑफ टाइम वैल्यू ऑफ मनी एंड द इनवर्स कोरिलेशन बिटवीन इंटरेस्ट रेट, क्योंकि 0.25 कम हो गया है, तो ये 7.5% की जो यील्ड है वो बढ़ के 8.25% हो जाती है। सिंपल, इसमें कोई आप ये बाय डिफॉल्ट आप लगाइए, फॉर एवरी 0.5 देयर इज 2.5% इंक्रीज, and for every 0.25 there is a swing of around 1.25 percent. So therefore that is why it matters. अब इसका मतलब क्या है, इसका मतलब ये होता है, इसका मतलब ये होता है कि जब आप कहते हो यील्ड बढ़ती है, लेकिन आपको तो जो कूपन मिल रहा है, जो आपको इंटरेस्ट पेमेंट मिल रही है, जो आपको इंटरेस्ट पेमेंट मिल रही है वो तो 7.5% के हिसाब से ही मिल रही है। तो अगर आपने 1 लाख इन्वेस्ट किया हुआ है तो आपको तो 7,500 ही मिल रहा है। तो जो ये 1.25% है ये किधर गया, तो 1.25% जो बनता है आपका, वो आपका कैपिटल गेन बनता है। तो आपका कैपिटल गेन 1.25% बनता है। यही कारण है 2013 में और 2017 में आईडीएफसी जीसेक फंड, और मैं अभी आपको बॉन्ड्स एक्चुअल पोर्टफोलियो में भी दिखाऊंगा कैसे दिखते हैं, तो कैसे हुआ है अभी रियल टाइम, आजकल की रियल टाइम मींस पिछले 2 महीने दिखा दूंगा मैं कैसे कहते हैं। इनके जो बॉन्ड म्यूचुअल फंड्स हैं, इनकी जो यील्ड है वो 22% तक गई है, 15% तक गई है। So you can even make 15 to 20% return in a bond portfolio when the rate of interest start falling down, provided you are invested into it already before, whether that is through these bonds or whether that is through debt funds, long long debt funds जिसको आप कहते हो जी सेक्स, या आप कहते हो गिल्ट, गवर्नमेंट गिल्ट फंड्स, जो गवर्नमेंट सिक्योरिटीज होती हैं 7 साल 8 साल की, ठीक है ना। अब हमें तो ये पता था कि भाई इन्वेस्टमेंट पर्पस होता है, क्रेडिट रेटिंग होती है, कितने परसेंटेज मुझे मिल रहे हैं, एंड हु इज द इशूअर, but there are many other things. First, whether this bond is coming as an IPO, like you have a stock market IPO, bonds also come with an IPO. So whether you want to enter into an IPO or not, whether you want to go for a GSEC only. Now, also note that when the bonds get issued and you take the bonds, they have to put into a demat account. You can't keep it in the paper format. Now, there are some bonds which can be put into both NSDL and CDS. तो आपका डीमेट अकाउंट होगा। सो डीमेट अकाउंट में जो भी है आपका डिपॉजिटरी पार्टिसिपेंट, whosoever is a depository participant where your shares are housed, like NSDL, National Securities Depository Limited, or CDSL, Central Depository Securities Limited. Some bonds can be housed in both of them. Anyone you can choose. In some cases, only some of the DMATs are there. So then you will have to open another DMAT account, not a trading account, only a DMAT account, so that you can put a DMAT. इश्योर मोड होता है पब्लिक प्लेसमेंट, प्राइवेट मींस दैट मींस आप एक्सचेंज पे ले सकते हैं, एनएससी बीएससी पे खरीद सकते हैं। बॉन्ड प्राइस लेवल, this is advanced part, I won't get at this, it is an advanced part of it. Call option वही होता है कि say for example company already says that 2025, 2032 and 2040 पे हम आपके बॉन्ड्स को 33% बाय बैक करेंगे। They don't have any maturity value, they say we are having a buyback, so that is given as a call option. जो perpetual bond नहीं होंगे उनमें call option होगा, सिंपल। Many of the people don't go for it, so it is just I will letting you. Perpetual bonds होता है जिनकी कोई maturity date नहीं होती है, टैक्स फ्री आपके NHAI, REC के bonds, say for example, and other are taxable. So these are the features when you look at the bond investing. Apart from that, if you're going for a कि भाई I am buying an HDFC or a Yes Bank bond, so there are tier 1 bond, these are safest. Tier 2, tier 3 are risky. Because they are risky, their ROI is higher. Seniority means, say for example, you have taken a bond. Seniority means if tomorrow the company gets bankrupt, if your bond is graded as senior, it will have preference, PREFERENC, preference to be paid back to you. Paid back your investments. Subordinate होता है, इसको बाद में मिलता है, नहीं होता है. Security means when you're buying a bond, is it just a piece of a paper, or the bond is backed by an asset? What asset it could be? There are some bonds which are backed by land and machinery और company assets, उसको हम कहते हैं secured bonds. वो आप आगे देखेंगे कैसे दिखते हैं. So this is a sample. I've taken it. It's from July 2023, so that to give you a perspective. So here, if we are looking at a category, we are looking at a state government guaranteed bonds. Okay. So what we are looking at? We are looking at a state government guaranteed bonds. Now here, if you see that the main thing is when it was issued, it was 9.8% coupon. 9.8% coupon was the issuance date, and its maturity is 30th of March 2031. Okay. Now here it is mentioned it is unsecured. Now here it is secured as well as guaranteed. अब जो ये secure, अब ये देखिए, ये जयपुर है, जयपुर विद्युत वितरण. So it is an electricity department of Jaipur, and it has raised a bonds which is unsecured, triple B rating, and they are saying that your yield to maturity will be 9.25. Minimum of 3 bonds have to be taken of 80,000. So that means it should be 80,000 into 3. 8 3 is 24. 2,40,000 of the investment. So its IP dates, interest payment dates. 30th March, 30th September. Now here if you see, now this was unsecured. Now if you see secured and guaranteed here, you will see the yields are different, like 9.89, 9.90, 9.87, 9.76. But when they were issued a bit lower. 9.26, 9.62, it has become 9.82 because these are tradable, and based on the fluctuating market scenario, this gets the yield increases. Now, if you see here in this case, it was only 2 days. That means 6 monthly. Here in this case, if you see 1, 2, 3, and 4, so it is quarterly. अभी जो price है, this is the price at which you will be buying. This is the price per 100, the bond value. This is how. Now it has also mentioned maturity dates. So maturity date will be कब? It is on 2033. It is on 2025 onward. आप कभी भी बेच सकते हो इसको. Main जो है इसकी, say for example नवंबर को है, लेकिन आप 27 फरवरी के बाद बेच सकते हो 25% of the redemption. So you can also do a partial redemption. Now what is this? This is Andhra Pradesh State Beverages Corporation, for that matter. So ठीक है. So this is how, and this is all obviously grading A plus, A plus, A minus, A plus, A plus. Even if it is A plus or a double A, it is secured and guaranteed. Now when you say Andhra Pradesh state, this is a pseudo guarantee because the state government is guaranteeing it. ये वही हो गया जो MTNL के bonds का हुआ कि MTNL ने loan repay नहीं किया, अब now government is bailing that out. So that is called as a pseudo guarantee. Now this, if you see that, if we see today, we are seeing these as the bonds. Rural Electrification Corporation, I have mentioned it 2 times. Why I have mentioned it 2 times? Because the yields are different. This is 7.48, this is 7.37. Payments are yearly, Maturity date is 2030 and this is 2029. So if I am going from 2029 March to June, 1 year, 3 months, I am getting say around 0.09% more or 0.1% more. So yearly. So that depends upon, that's why the maturity value. So accordingly, the minimum investment tranche also changes. Now, if I want to expand this, how this bond will look like, it is like this. So when investing into a bond, you will see that, okay, what is the minimum investment? So I have a minimum investment of 10 lakh 33,000. What is this? This is called as a dirty price. This is an extra amount that has the accrued interest, which normally gets paid out to you when the this comes, the payout time comes. Now, so settlement date is 29th of July because it was a recent what we have selected. YTM is around 7.481. Maturity date is June 30. 5 year, 10 months and 20 days to maturity. Yearly interest payment, face value is 10. This is the ISIN number like every company stock. This is an identifiable because it will be in your demat account once you buy it. That is the reason why it is an ISIN number, because it will be in the demat account. It's a private placement, not in the secondary market. Tradable, so it is listed. It is taxable. And when it was issued on 2020. It is not perpetual, so there is no call date. It is a tier bond. So what does tier 2 means? Tier, it is unsecured, and tier 2 means it is a bit risky, but since it is REC, it is a part of a government entity. So normally people go for it, and there is a pseudo guarantee on it, if you say that. Seniority. In case of default, the bond holders will be considered subordinate for payments. That means इनकी payment बाद में होगी, पहले senior bonds की होगी. That is how it would be. It is AAA rated. So now what does this mean? So if you see that here, if I'm not wrong, even being a AAA rated bond, it is still unsecured and a tier 2 and subordinate. This is what you need to know. So normally people go for कि भाई AAA rated bond है, मैं invest कर रहा हूँ. But there could be the case it is a AAA rated bond, but it can still be a tier 2. That is a certain degree of the risk. So there could be another AAA rated bond which could be a tier 1. So that could be a good option for you. So therefore, if you think that bond investing है कि सिर्फ bond उठा के invest कर दिया, it is not like that. So you need to get more deeper into the thing. Now, अब हमने bonds भी देखे, ये भी देखा, आपका dividends भी देखा, ये भी देखा. Now we also have to see that कि how we can balance between capital preservation and growth. Because I need to preserve my capital also, and I have to protect from inflation also, because I have to give Nirmala Sitharaman also the money from my investments also. So I have to take care of all those things. So therefore, what does this mean? So here comes one of the best parts of it, that is an FD, and where we do an error in our FD investments. Now, why I have taken an FD? So this is simple. So देखिए, what we have done is we have done nearly a real-time comparison with 2008. Why we have compared with 2008? It is after say 9 to 11 years, interest rates are at the all-time high. When we say that interest rates are at the all-time high, just a second. Okay, so whenever we say that the interest, rates are at the all-time high, we know that we will be getting more interest on our FD investment. But FD में invest करने का भी तरीका होता है. A simple wrong way of investing can cost you money. How? Let me show you. We will revisit 2008. Normally what happens, and why this thing had come into mind, because it was around 6 months back. I was at MNGL and was having a call with one of my clients, and he said that, "Bhai, I'm investing in an FD that is giving me around 8.5%. I am investing for 360 days. Not 360, 400 days. 8.5 मिल रहा है." मैंने कहा सर 8.5 400 days के लिए अगर बैंक दे रहा है, normally you take any of the banks. What does the bank want? Bank want to keep its rate of interest payments as low as possible. They want to give you home loans at as much higher price as possible, or rate of interest possible, and give you as much lower FD returns as possible, because that is when the bank will make money. It's obviously, it's logical. Now, if bank want to give you the lowest FD rate, how they can do it? But since we know that say there is a repo rate, and banks also have to be competitive so that they can get funds, because the money which gets into FD will be taken into home loans. Bank will earn money on the home loans. So therefore, the thing is, what they will do, they will say ki, bhai, we will pay you 8.5%, we will pay you 9% for 1 year. Why? After 360 days or 400 days, your rate of interest will get reset. That is why it is called as the interest rate risk in the beginning when I told you. What does this mean? This means that currently you had an option. You had an option, say for example, either you could book a 1 year or a 2 year or a 3 year FD, or you would have gone for a 5 year FD. So what we have done, we have taken a period of 2008 when the interest rate was all time high. This is Ramesh of Cadbury's, and this is Suresh of SURE. Suresh of Cadbury's. So what they have done, this person has done an FD at the 3-year rotation. So he has taken, I am taking a 3-year FD, and 3-year FD is at 9.75% higher. And what the bank has done, it has kept a 5-year FD at a lower rate of interest. Now उसने तो ये देखा कि भाई मेरे को तो 9.75 मिल रहा है, इसने देखा मुझे 9.25 मिल रहा है. So what they have done, he has taken it 2008, renewed it 2011, then renewed it 2014, then renewed 2017 and 2020. What he did, he renewed in 2008, then 13, and then 18. So if you say 9.75, he was investing 9.25, then 8.75, 7.25. Now the point is, while they are going here, while they are maturing here, the total post-tax maturity value comes here. To make things simple, let me show you through a graph. A person, this 3 year is a blue. This 3 year is a blue line. This is a blue line. So if he was at the age of 58, so if there was a defense officer who in 2000 to 2008 retired with a 2 crore of the corpus, and he had invested into an FD because he was seeing 9.75% as an ROI annually, and he was renewing it at a 3 year period. His assets, when he is 73 now, after 15 years, he still has 10 more years to go. His corpus of that investment would have been around 5.32 crore. So therefore, this 2 crore of the investment has become 5.23 crore. Now, if there has been Suresh, who also retired at the same time, same age and everything, but rather than 3 year, he renewed it at 5,555 basis. So his corpus would be around 6 crore. So therefore, there would have been a difference. ये 5.32 था, ये आपका 6 है. So there has been a difference of around 68 lakhs. So around per year interest loss of around 4.5 lakhs, 4.6 lakhs has been there. So I'm saying that even a very simple thing as investing into a fixed deposit cannot be too much straightforward as it appears to be, because banks obviously are smarter. So if they are giving you something at 9% or 8% or 7% for a shorter duration, that means you're open to reinvestment risk. So here, if you see that this money lost is just due to a reinvestment risk, nothing else. No, this was an FD. So now you will also be getting into a mutual fund. And what would you do? You will see which were the top four mutual funds or top five mutual funds, and you will be investing based on the past performance. Okay. So now let me show you one thing and guess at your end, and you can note it at your end. Say, for example, if you're looking at a mutual fund and you are looking at a performance, I have blanked out the name. So I have only written the AMC name. मैंने नाम नहीं mention किया because I want you to guess which fund it would be. What I have done is, this is 2nd of February 2024. This is 31st of December 2023. That means 1st of January 2024. Just 30 days. ठीक है ना? It is just 30 to 31 days period. In 30 to 31 days period, the 9.69% return became 9.88, 9.09 became 9.77, same fund. 8.75 became 9.1, 12.29 became 16.57, 8.39 became 10.23, 4% became 11%, and 6.23% becomes this. Now, what does this mean? This means if you had taken your investment call based on this, कि भाई ये तो 4% का है, मुझे इसमें इन्वेस्ट नहीं करना है, in 1 month you wouldn't have made 11%. Now this 11% is just second highest after this one. Now you would say कि नहीं, ये तो equity fund है. I am sorry to say that it is not an equity fund. It is a fixed income debt fund. It is a fixed income debt fund. It is not an equity fund. So if you see that here the fund has moved from 4% to 11%, it has not moved because stock market चढ़ा. It has moved because interest rate yields में फर्क आया था back end में, जो 10-year treasury yields होती है गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया की bonds की. So if you see that Axis Crystal SDL जो हमने डाले थे, जो मैंने bonds दिखाए थे आपको, SDL bonds 2027 maturity के debt funds index, dynamic bond fund, prudential mutual funds, gilt funds, income funds, long term funds, gilt funds. Now if you see that in 30 days, these were the funds that give, and these are all debt funds. कुछ नहीं करेंगे, ये आपको yield to maturity 8% तो देगा ही देगा, but now it is giving you 16%. So this simply shows two things. First, your past performance is obviously not the guarantee of the future return. Second thing, debt funds doesn't mean that you will make 6 to 7% return. If you know where the interest rates is moving, again, what Warren Buffett said, if you know what you're doing, you will literally make money. But then do you know how the interest rate works and how the bond funds can give you 16% returns? If you know that, then why you want to take the risk into the equities for that matter? Or a 12 or 15% rate of return. Now, while you do that, and while I am getting onto the assets, I'm getting onto the assets because all of these will comprise and make a portfolio for you. So now अब कहोगे नहीं यार ये तो चलो ठीक है मुझे समझता नहीं है गोल्ड में लेना अच्छा है गोल्ड काफी बड़ा है and the gold will make money for me. So if you think the gold is the solution, let me show you a picture. So here if you see that 2020 and here we are at 2024. So we are at 4 year period. ठीक है ना लॉन्ग टर्म इन्वेस्टर हम हमने तो वैसे ही 4-5 साल के लिए डाला पैसा. So if you see the return of the silver has given returns of around 65% and gold has given returns of around 42%. Now from 42 to 65 there is 23% gap. So here it is around gap of 23%. Now still you want to invest in this. Now अब you कहोगे कि नहीं सिल्वर का है ये है वो है गोल्ड तो चलता है ऊपर. So let me tell you one thing again, like I told, we need to know how the government take decisions and we should also know why companies come with different funds and different product. If you see in 2023, in 2023 you would have got emails from ICICI SILVER ETF and also UTI ETF. Why do you think they have come? Never ever silver was there in the mutual fund or an exchange traded fund ETF kitty. ETF kitty में था ही नहीं. गोल्ड था, लोग गोल्ड में इन्वेस्ट करते थे, गोल्ड बीज थे, गोल्ड में इन्वेस्ट करते थे, बट सिल्वर का कोई फंड ही नहीं था. So why do you think these AMCs have come up with a silver fund? Because they have known this rally. उन्हें देखा कि भाई सिल्वर चढ़ रहा है ऊपर because of electronics and all those industrial products that silver is being used, and that's the way. So that is where the traction comes. So if you think the gold is where you make the money, many of you, I'm sorry to say that I'm trying to burst this myth because now you can invest both in gold and silver. So if you want to invest say 5 lakhs in 10 lakhs in gold, you can put 5 in silver and 5 in gold for that matter. Just in case you don't want to miss out the opportunity. Now, this was the gold. But when we talk about the equities, what do you say that by मैंने तो मारुति में invest किया है. I invested at 4,000 and I have made 7,000 or 9,700 returns. So I have made, say, for example, more than 100% returns. This is what I have made. And this is what people are thinking when they are seeing the graph right now. But if I zoom this out, see, this was 9,000 same, this was 4,000 same. You were seeing the graph of the stock from here to here. That means mid 2020. So you're looking at mid 2020 to say, for example, 2023 end. But if you are an investor and आप तो long term investor हैं, if you are an investor in 2017 or 2018 में you had taken a Maruti stock and that at that time it was around 9,000 rupees, from 18 to 23, that means 18, 19, 20, 5-year period, you have not made money. So you have not made money. So what does this show about investing? So what does this show about equity investing? पहली बात है, long term doesn't mean that you will make money. Point number one. Point number two, which is written below, it is not what you buy. It is not I'm buying the best stock in the world. I'm buying the best company stock in the world. It is not what you buy. It is at what price you buy. You can go to Panchkula or Chandigarh, or you can go to Gurgaon and buy a flat for say 2 crore. And then 1 month later, you come to know that your neighbor had bought the same flat 50 lakhs cheaper or 25 lakhs cheaper. So therefore, it does not matter what you buy. It is actually at what price do you buy. Now, so therefore, now when we are trying to put everything in tandem and we are putting everything in together, what are you looking for? You're looking for a balance between safety and growth. Now, if you want to look for balance between safety and growth, you have now known that FD investment is not simple. Errors can lead to 59 lakh rupees of loss. You have also seen that bonds being a AAA rated doesn't mean 100% safe. You have also seen that equity investments long term could be a loss. So therefore, when you know all these things, what would you balance with your portfolio, and with what certainty, and how much confident you would be to balance it? Okay. So for some, you will say ki bhai mere ko safety chain grow chahiye. And let me tell you, in my experience, I have seen a person who had been 75 years of age and was 90% aggressive in portfolio. And this is, I'm talking about 2012, 2012 mein. He was 75-year-old investor, but he was 90% equity. Why? Because his background, for 50 years, he had been an equity investor. So he was not worried about which type of balancing it. He was totally gung-ho. So it totally depends upon individual to individual, your own psyche. Now, when we come to portfolio, everybody knows that ki Rajat, koi aisa portfolio batao ki tell me a portfolio which could be an all-weather portfolio. So I'm just presenting a portfolio which is a generalization across the world that is being used to make sure that if you allocate your portfolio in such ratio, asset classes, I'm not talking funds, I'm not talking products, I'm not talking about stock names and all, just a portfolio level. So if you structure your portfolio in such a way, you have 30% allocated to stocks, short-term and intermediate bonds around 15%, long-term bonds around 40%, gold around 7.5, and commodity 7.5. When you do this, your average return would be around, आप पकड़ लो 12% के आसपास, 11-12% के आसपास आपकी रिटर्न रहेगी. It is called as an all-weather portfolio. Now, on what premise this is based? On what premise this is based? It's not that कि भाई it is a holy grail for you and you can have it and your आपको अमरता का वरदान मिल जाएगा. It's not like that. Actually, what happens? There are only 4 market seasons. Because obviously, when you're going on a warfare or going in any battlefield, Art of War says you should know land, air, water, temperature, hawa, kahan se kya aa raha hai, you need to know everything. So therefore, in the world of investing, you also need to know what are the seasons. So there are technically 4 seasons. And there could be 2 directions, either rising or falling. But what is rising and what is falling? First, market growth is on rise, inflation is on rise, or market growth is falling and inflation is falling. Okay, so this could be, say, for example, let me put it here. This could be season 1, this could be season 2, this could be season 3, and this could be season 4. So if we see where we are today higher than expected inflation, we are not having it. Lower than expected we have, but within range bound. So we can say that we are having a higher than expected growth and we are having lower than expected inflation, for that matter. Now, these are the 4 seasons. So here what is happening? Higher than expected economic growth हो रही है, higher than expected inflation हो रहा है, lower expected economic growth है, ये तो अभी चीज है ही नहीं हमारी, and lower than expected inflation है, ठीक है? Now when we are looking at, now I am investing into commodities, I'm investing into stocks, I'm investing into bonds, I'm investing into golds and all. These are my assets. The cash which has been deployed into assets. Now, how I will map it? If there is a rise in economic growth जो अभी है, and also there is a technically fall, because inflation नहीं बढ़ रहा है, वैसा inflation नहीं बढ़ रहा है, so we can say, and also there is an inflation which is falling because rate of interest गिरेंगे, you should invest in treasury bonds and equities. What does treasury bonds means? जैसे आपने अभी देखा, say for example here 16% return. What is this? This is treasury bond, gilt funds. This is treasury bond. This is SDL bond. So this is practically I'm showing you. So if there is a falling or a lower inflation rate, then you have to go for equities and treasury bonds. Economic growth hai, so you have to be in equities, corporate bonds, and commodities and gold. That is the reason why gold is also going up. So if there is a rising inflation and this, then you can go for these things and these things. So depending upon, but then you should have that ingenuity to know where are growth and inflation into the market. If you are able to know where it is, then you will be able to decide which one to pick up. But since when you see this and you have allocated this as an asset allocation, this is on auto mode. Nothing is guaranteed into the market, but this makes your a bilkul balanced portfolio. If the rate of interest falls down, your long-term bonds will give 12 to 13% return. Short-term investments will not be hampered. This will give around 6-7% returns on that this will go for down, interest rate will fall, the stocks will give double digit returns. Commodities and gold will keep on being high because the market will be expanding. So obviously demand for commodities will go up, and the gold eventually will be as a hedge against the inflation. And because in gold will not increase just because of the inflation hedge. Gold is not increasing while the people are investing. Gold is increasing because after US and Russia war, people know that the US currency say they are trying to delink themselves. So therefore, all the countries of the world, the treasuries there are trying to buy as much gold as possible and building up their reserves. That is the reason why the gold is going up. So gold is not going up कि भाई market ये है कि gold हवा में अपने से नहीं चल रहा है. So gold is going up because the treasuries and the governments and the corporates are buying gold on a big scale because they want to delink themselves from US. Now, taking all these things into consideration, it's just a sample I am throwing in front of you, and this is also an old figure, like 6-8 months back. So therefore, if you, I've not mentioned any of the funds here, but more or less it still holds okay because the yields have improved over the past. So here what we have taken is, oh, yeah, just a second. Here we have considered two category of portfolio. First thing, we have considered 2 crore of the assets. Then we have taken category A and category D. I have not considered B, C, E because there were many permutation and combination based on how much income you need. So for example, A needs an annual income of 6 lakh in addition to what he's getting as a pension. And there's a category D getting a pension of around 13 lakhs 20,000 annual. So he wants per month by 1 lakh 10,000 आए and he wants कि भाई मुझे 50,000 आए. So this is how it goes. Now, while they are going on for it, what we have done is we have made 44% allocation into income generating. So this is income generating. Income generation. And this part is called as wealth generation, which is called as growth. So when we say that, what did we say in the beginning? Balancing. We were talking about capital preservation and growth. We were talking about balancing our investments. We want to balance safety and growth. So therefore, we are looking at the wealth generation. So what I have done, I have kept 56% here. I have kept 44% here. But for here, because I need more of an income generation, I am taking 91% here and I am keeping 9% for wealth generation. So based on it, say for example, what I've taken. I've taken some pension guaranteed plans. I have taken some corporate deposits like Bajaj Finance and Freedom. I've taken RBI floating rate bonds, sovereign gold bonds. Then there's a dividend stock portfolio, state government bonds, REITs, real estate investment trust. Like you have seen that dividend portfolio, but there were only three options. One was, I believe, Power Grid. One was Indian Oil, and the third one was Mindspace REITs. That was given at around 7.25 was the indicative yield. So the point I am referring is this is an income generation portfolio we have created. Now there are many elements that can be changed. So it is not sacrosanct ki only these are the asset classes. No, there could be much better REITs and bonds. Then I might not go for a dividend portfolio because companies are no longer giving too much of the dividend. So I will only go for a REITs dividends or and I will not go for an RBI because there is a lock into it. Because if the rate of interest starts going down, the RBI rate of interest will also go down. So I will not get into that. So it is just a structure so that you know different elements to it. When you go for wealth creation, you have equity mutual funds, you have hybrids, you have fixed income, you have growth stocks, and you have the pre-IPO. What are the pre-IPOs? What are the growth stocks? We will see later on in the portfolio. So that is when then you have total of say 2 crore of the amount deployed. So if you're looking at the pension guaranteed plan, what we have considered is a 57-year-old person, deferment of 3 years, so that after that the annuity comes in. If you have taken corporate deposit, Shriram corporate deposit like this, Shriram corporate deposit like this, we are taking a tenure of 5 years on the quarterly basis post TTS. And if you're taking dividend, we are taking a dividend yield of 3%. These are the conditions we have taken. So now, again, at the end of it, the main crux comes. Not at the end of it, because there's much more to it. The question comes is, the people are of the same background, same education, same lineage, moreover, the same type of education, knowledge and everything. But why they are differently wealthy? This is only because of the actions that they do take. one person will be thinking and contemplating, the some other person will be taking a leap of faith. You कहते हैं ना, you don't have to be perfect in it, you just have to be good enough. You have to be good enough in it, and you need to be have a right person. Like आपको अकबर की तरह अपने यहाँ 9 रत्न रखने होते हैं, the people who will be advising you, and you have to apply just your common sense and to get things done rather than sitting on the fences, because runs are made by players who are on the pitch and not on the fences. 12th man doesn't make anything. So again, the question now comes up, हमने portfolio बना दिया, सब कुछ कर दिया, balancing act कर दिया. Now we also have to see that planning we can do on the portfolio. So first we can see forward, there are still certain options. We can go for tax deferment. Not tax deferment for that matter. We can go for tax exemption. So then there are certain 1010D among members. 5 lakh per head multiple, because by next year or so this will also go. This is first thing. Second thing you can see, for example, is tax loss harvesting. Tax loss harvesting means I will net off profits of my mutual funds or stocks against losses. Say, for example, I have a 1 crore of portfolio, of which 20 lakhs is in stocks. Okay. So my stock portfolio is 20 lakhs. In FY24, my portfolio in FY24, my portfolio value currently is 25 lakhs, and profit booked is 4 lakhs. अब करंट वैल्यू तो मेरी 25 लाख है. This is my current value. Profit booked is 4 lakhs. Now loss that is active, unrealized, that is standing, say for example, I will say 3 lakhs, because obviously there will be some stocks which have grown by 100%, 10%. If you have say RVNL, Mazegaon Dock for that matter, Tithagad Rail, Texmaco Vegans, Sun Pharma, Divi's Lab, so those have given by 100%, 200%. So your 20 lakhs of portfolio has become 25 lakhs. You have, say for example, you have booked a profit of 4 lakhs. 1 lakh रहने दी से 4 lakhs का profit book है. So technically short-term capital gains at 20% of 4 lakhs would be applicable. But what I will do is my market value of the portfolio is 25 lakhs. This has nothing to do with my profit or my loss. मेरे को सिर्फ इससे मतलब है. So what I will do is I will book this loss of 3 lakhs. So what I will do is I will minus 3 lakhs. I will book this. So therefore my net profit 1 lakh, and on 1 lakh I will be paying 20%. So that means around 20,000 as tax, which otherwise will be 20 into 3, 60,000 approximately, if I'm not wrong. 60,000. So therefore I have reduced my tax liability 60K to 20K. You can also get it zeroed. कोई ना कोई stocks तो loss में. So therefore tax loss harvesting you can keep on going. So whenever you do a capital, whenever you book, there is an advance tax on capital gains that you need to put every quarter. So what you can do is every quarter, whenever you keep on booking profit, you can also keep on booking losses. The only thing you need to know is, say for example, you can say I have 2 sons. भाई I need to get 10 lakhs home. अब चाहे वो एक बेटा लाए या 2 बेटे लाए या मिला के लाए या कैसे लाए, I don't care. So therefore, if your portfolio of stocks is 20 lakhs, it has become 25 lakhs. I don't care if Maruti is minus 20%. I will sell it off to save tax, because my objective is not to get married to Maruti. My objective is to make sure my 20 lakhs, which is 25, goes to 30, goes to 40 with least tax impact. With least tax impact. So now this takes us to the next very crucial state called as the legacy and the estate planning. So legacy and the estate planning is very important in a sense. Let me quote it. And because we are talking about tax saving, मैं आपको आगे कुछ case studies बताऊंगा जो काफी काम आएंगे आपको भी when you are buying, selling property and so on and so forth. So legacy and estate planning में सबसे important चीज क्या होती है कि say for example, you are two siblings, your mother is older, father is no longer there, you have given her 20 lakhs or 30 lakhs in her account, so that every say she will keep on getting an interest as a monthly expenses, so that she doesn't have to ask you for money and you are happy with that arrangement. Now god forbid something happens and your mother no longer remains. Now as per the Hindu Succession Act and everything, if you are two siblings or three siblings, although the money has been given by you to your mother, now your mother is no more, that money will get equally divided among the siblings. So they will not care about whether the other sibling was not taking care of the mother and it was you who had given the money to her. It has to be divided among the two. Point number one. Point number two, if both husband and wife, something happens to them, if child is there, then the child is not given a custody to the father's side or the mother's side or nana, nani, chacha, chachi or mama, mami, because the law does not believe in individuals. It only believes in institutions. So therefore, he or she, the kid directly go to the orphanage. So therefore, what does this mean? This means that there has to be the letter of guardianship, a simple letter that has to be mentioned that if something happens to husband and wife, like we have seen earlier, the series had got husband and wife had got crashed in an copter crash in South. So although that was another case, another thing, but if something happens to husband and wife and the kids are smaller, then they will be sent to orphanage. So therefore, letter of guardianship has to be there, authorizing who is the person who will take care of the kid. Point number one. And point number two, when you're talking about legacy and estate planning, say for example, you have put, say, if you have put, say, your mother, you have put your spouse uh, as the nominee, as the beneficiary, or as the nominee in the life insurance policy, and your mother and father are also hale and hearty. But tomorrow something happens, although you have made a will and you say that something happens to me, 20% goes to my parents, 50% goes to my wife, the rest goes to kids, so on and so forth. However, any and every proceeds that comes from a life insurance policy or a money back policy or a pension policy will not go to the ones mentioned in the will. It will only go to the person whose name has been mentioned in the life insurance policy. So therefore, as you are in a critical juncture of retirement, it is a time to review all your policy and to see you need to uh, reorient and recorrect all the things that are there into the scenario in terms of the names of the beneficiaries. So therefore, obviously, the first steps of the pre-retirement means you need to have a checklist for estate planning. You need to have the will and testament. Now, will and testament का मतलब होता है you simply need to have, if you are having a spouse, if you are having a spouse also, not a single, then you should go for a married will, not a joint will. Married will है, it will save you money. Normally, what would happen? You have created a will, you have getting a money, something happens to you, the money goes to the spouse or the persons as mentioned in the will. But when your spouse is there and there are two children, or they say if the spouse is there but there's still a surviving older mother or an older father, then in that case what to do? So therefore, rather than who will make the will for wife, so rather than having two wills, you can simply go for a married will and you can create all the assets and you can create all the ifs and buts of how the transfer of the assets should happen. Why I am saying this, people normally say कि भाई मैं Google पे जाऊंगा and I will just download uh, the will format, I will mention it and do it. If the will is not registered, it is not protected under law. So it has to be registered. Second thing is that key, normally what people do, we people saying, okay, I'm doing 10 lakhs of FD. In one, I have put my son or a daughter. In second, I have put another son and daughter. And then, now what happens? What problem happens after 2 or 3 years? One FD might get renewed. या आपने एक के लिए 10 लाख की एफडी में एक बच्चे का नाम रखा है, एंड द सेकंड 10 लाख का म्यूचुअल फंड में यू हैव पुट इन अनदर चाइल्ड. नाउ दैट म्यूचुअल फंड वाज इनटू इक्विटीज. Now that mutual fund 10 lakh had become 25 lakhs, and this 10 lakh has become 12 or 13 lakhs. Now tomorrow if something happens to you and the family is sitting together, the one sibling will see to the other sibling, वो कहेगा यार what father did to me or what my parents did to me. So that will rather create a rift in the family rather than easing the things out. The most important fact in all these things, and my personal experience seeing so many clients, is that you are at 57 or 58. Many of you would be in your 40s or 50s. So whenever you are approaching 57, 50 and you have children, you need to decide at what age, how you need to spend the years beyond 70. Are you still want to live singly कि भाई हम independently रहेंगे? Then do one thing. There are those societies, those builders who make apartments for older people that have physiotherapy, that have gym, that have yoga, that have hospitals, everything only targeted for retirees of around 60 and above or 70 and above, so that you are taken ample care of. Now, but if you don't want to go for those retirement homes, but you say कि भाई अभी तो we will stay independent, then we will shift either to with our children or near to our children. But that decision you have to take now, what you want to do in your life. And once you are 65 and above, you need to take that transition, because otherwise what would happen? In the next 10 years, you are living separately, your children are living separately, they have a different lifestyle, you have a different lifestyle, your lifestyle is disciplined, time bound and all. Children's lifestyle is that they are coming at 9 p.m, 10 p.m, 7 p.m. आपको लगेगा it is like a guest house. People are coming, people are going. They are not, there's no decorum, there's no discipline, there's another level of the stress going on. Job hai, job nahi hai, so on and so forth. So therefore you will not feel in sync with that routine. So therefore, the point is, while you are at 57 and 60, in 70, you should have that foresight with you. You should have that foresight with you, how you actually want to spend your years. So therefore, अगर हम चार वर्ण आश्रम की बात करें, आप गृहस्थ होते हो, उसके बाद आप वृद्ध आश्रम में जाते हो, वृद्ध आश्रम के बाद संन्यास होता है. तो 60 to 80 is one level, and 80 and above is another level. So 60 to 80 is the thing where you do things for your community, for your religion, for your society, and these are those years of 20 years that you will be using and having a purpose for it. And the next 20 years of 80 above will be one which you'll be getting with your children and all, so on and so forth. So that is an answer that you have to ask yourself and find an answer that will fit your aspirations for that matter. So therefore, obviously some people are very fond of pets, so you need to have the garden for the pets. Beneficiary designations have to be there in case of the non-probate, including insurance. You should have a financial power of attorney. Now there are two types of power of attorney that you could have. Like I've told that when people get Alzheimer's or schizophrenia and all, so there are the two type of attorneys that you need: financial power of attorney, and another is the advanced healthcare directive, which is called as the healthcare power of attorney. Why I am saying this? You might be having two children. Having one children in the same city or in India, and another child being in US, doesn't mean that the child who is nearer to you in India is the one who is taking care of you. Point number one. So therefore, your decision has to be seen ki bhai, should I give all control to the one child? Or if something happens to me, one should be able to take care of the banking rights, whether that amount has to be spent on expenses, hospitals and all. Another one should be able to take call on medical, whether this treatment is to be given to me or not given to me, so that if I am not able to take decisions or my spouse is not able to take decisions, at least that regular power of attorney is given there. So in this case, both the children are involved into it. Somebody doesn't say कि भाई property उस तरफ जा रही है, and it doesn't let the fissures develop within the family. All proof of documents and all those things have to be taken together. All digital logins and passwords have to be there, saved, and so on. All these title deeds and all those things have to be taken care of. We have now everything. At the end of the thing, फिर बात आती है कि भाई मसाला क्या है? आपने दाल बनाई, दाल के अंदर तड़का जो डालना है. So what is the in thing now? What we need to look into? If there is something takeaways, key takeaways other than what we have studied. First and foremost, what the HNIs do that? Many of us having a stock portfolio, but 99% of the people, we do not know that under SLBM on NSC and BSC, you can lend. I'm not saying sell. I'm saying lend. You can lend your stocks. So what you're doing, you're lending your stocks for 30 to 45 days for fixed income or BSC and NSC. And what does this mean? And I have taken a data for Friday. If you have 10 lakh of investments, for example, we're talking about 27th of July. This is 27th of July 24. Match date is September. Days are 40 days. So this is a 40 days period. If you have an SBI card stock holding, or you are having a Syngene, or you are having an AU Small Finance Bank, or LTTS, Larsen and Toubro Technology Services, or M&M Financial Services, अगर 10 लाख के stocks पड़े हुए हैं, you will be getting an annualized yield. मतलब you lend these stocks for 40 days, you will be getting 15,000 as a fixed return over and above your capital gains, bonus, dividend, so on and so forth. So this is a free income that you will be getting technically on your stocks being lent. Then this is then is a EU Small Finance Bank and all. Now the point you should be asking is, if you are a stock investor and you have been investing in stock for last 10 years and you are attached with your financial advisor or an agent or a banker, and you don't know about it, then I think it is a time that you need to switch over to from your financial advisor or the banker for that matter, because then you are not getting the actual information that you should be getting. So this is one thing. So you can lend your stocks for 40, 50 days. Now these lending can go, this is just 2 or 3 stocks I mentioned, but you can see 23, 24, 25% of the returns also coming. Not only this, but Dr. Lal Path Labs, IRCTC, SBI Bank for that matter, Escorts for that matter. These are the companies where we keep on seeing such opportunities coming up. So if you are an investor who is having a stock portfolio but is not a trader, कि भाई मैंने stock लेके रखे, I'm just keeping it with me, I don't want to sell it, but you can lend it for 40 days and you can have a free income coming on to it. The second thing that HNI or Ultra HNI does is they invest in pre-IPO. So normally what we do.
Rajat, if you'll permit a question, is this income
Yes,
taxable? The one I obtained
yes, sir.
from
This
lending.
will. Yes, sir. Since the rate of interest is determined before only, because when you are lending it, you already are knowing how much you are earning. So it is not speculative. So it is known you are lending at say 14%. So it will be taxed at your income tax slab. At your income tax slab. But
Okay,
let me tell you this way. So if you are earning 15,000, which actually you are not earning. So even after having 15,000, you are paying, say, for example, 5,000 tax, but still 10,000 is extra over and above we are getting it. But government tax it because this is a guarantee. And the beauty is this data you can see on NSE website. So this data is available on NSE website. The irony is that the banker will not tell you, because I will tell you, because if you are having a Zerodha account, no, Zerodha will charge you 10 bucks trading, for example. So as much churning that you want to do. But if you have lend your stock for 40 days, anyways, you are not trading it. So what is the money they will make? They will make money only once you have lended. They will not make money otherwise. So therefore, no, whether it is Zerodha or HDFC or ICICI Securities, nobody provides it on your mobile app or even on a login. So what boutique wealth firms or a HNI, the wealth firms who manage portfolios of HNI, what they do, we have a trading desk here. The traders check the portfolio and the investors who are not the traders. So we call them up. Okay, sir, you are having say Syngene or you are having say Sun Pharma. So there is an opportunity that has come for lending it. Do you want to lend it? आपको बेचना तो नहीं है stock. If they say no, I don't want to lend it. Sorry, I don't want to sell the stock. I don't need money. You can lend it for 40 days. If they say okay, then we place the transaction. So this transaction for lending is not put on by the client on a mobile app or it is put directly on a trading terminal at the back end. So this has to be done at the deal flow that we do, trading flow. That is how this goes. It's a very simple product. SLBS पे कुछ नहीं होता है, account पड़े हैं, lending होती है, and we just get it done. Okay. Then we have pre-IPO shares. Now, what happens in pre-IPO? 99% of the retail investor, what we do? Say, for example, there is Tata Technology. इसका pre-IPO आ चुका है. It has come on, it's been listed. Now, what happens in Tata Tech is that it will be oversubscribed. Because it will be oversubscribed, even if you put 2 lakhs as maximum amount, you will not get, that means you will get less than equal to, say, for example, 16,000 worth of shares, even if you are lucky, because it is oversubscribed. Now, the point is, even if you apply and get 16,000 worth of shares, what would you do after? Even if it goes up by by 20,000 and now your value is 36,000, what tangible impact it would make? It might have become 100% returns, but the quantum of return is not tantamount to make any difference to me. You getting it? So what HNI does is, what HNI does in this case is, he doesn't enter into an IPO when the IPO comes. He enters into an IPO 6 months in a very short span to on an average 2 to 3 years ahead before. In OTC market, this is called as a over the counter private market. So private market may between wealth firms, between the ESOP holders or the wealth firms, we arrange shares for say HDFC Securities. Now there is HDB Financial, which is a loan arm of HDFC Bank, which is coming up with an IPO. The announcement has already come and the DRHP has already been filed. So HDB Financial is already available with us. HDFC Securities is available with us. Now let me tell you one thing. Chennai Super King is the only IPL franchisee that is tradable, that has having a shares in the private market. Now the beauty is, we will buy a share of LIC. But do you in a stock exchange? But do you know that LIC owns 7% of Chennai Super Kings? LIC is 7% owner of Chennai Super King. Not only that, if you go for DMart, who is the owner of DMart? Radha Krishnan Damani. He owns 3.4% of Chennai Super Kings. This is where they make 1x, 2x, 10x of the money. But this is a risky asset class. So if, for example, I have a 1 crore of the portfolio, I will put only 10 lakhs. And that too when I have been an equity investor. Because घुसने के वक्त everybody is कि भाई ये है, but you will need around a 3 to 7 year horizon for it. But you can also exit in 6 months, 3 months, and 180 days also. We have got that done. The point I am saying that when you're entering into a pre-IPO shares like old monk, Mohan Meekins, Chennai Super King was trading at around 16 rupees at 2019, had gone up to 230, is I believe 175, 180 if I'm not wrong. These days, Reliance Retail is totally getting under a buyback. So it is only getting under a buyback. So it was there, people had invested. Now the Reliance is taking it back. It's not letting investors have it. You buy us back, we are compulsory buying it back because they are totally 100% getting it issued as at an IPO. So therefore, normally we say that ki by at a very positive note 1 to 3 years, but that doesn't mean, important point, that doesn't mean ki, say for example you have got into, say for example, HDFC Security. That doesn't mean you can sell it only after 3 years or 5 years when the IPO hits. You can sell even it in between. And these companies also pay you dividends. These are again in your trading account only. They pay you dividends. They give you bonus. They give all those things. Other companies that are here in it are Philip Appliances. You have Kurlon. You have Hero Bikes ka Hero FinCorp. You have Studs Helmet. STUDDS, Studs Helmets, and many other. You also have Bira Beer, but it is a worst company. You have a Bira Beer also. It's the worst company. Not recommended. There are 100 companies, but only we suggest only top 5 or top 8 to invest into. Yes, you have a 1 crore of the corpus. Please keep 5 to 10 if you want to invest into and really want to have. So if you want to get into IPOs, go into a pre-IPO route so that you have a higher probability of making money. And इसमें quota system नहीं होता. You want to put 2 lakhs, you want to put 10 lakhs in the stock, you want to put 60,000 in the stock, you are free to do that. Okay. Now, another mantra in advanced wealth strategies is key people say, ki, okay, I have a stock, but I don't know when to sell. So now there are investors that do a couple of things. First thing, one of the investors says, ki, bhai, I always sell. I always sell at 15%. As soon as my return hits 15%, whether that is 1 month or 1 year or 6 months, I sell my stocks. It is his philosophy. Because he was so much confused about it. And it was way back in 2015, I was having a conversation with the investor. So he was a very sound investor and a very old investor. So when I said, how you decide to book profits? Rajat, I have understand one thing. I have seen my stock going up from 100 to 500 and then going back to 30. So what I have done simply, whenever I invest, I made 15%. I come out of it thinking that let other person also make money with it. And this also has given me sanity and also gives me peace of mind. So this is one thing. The another more logic and more professional way of looking is when to sell is, say for example, you are invested into, say for example, Sun Pharma. Now Sun Pharma has given you a return of around 35% in last 1 year. Okay. Now you are not able to decide whether I need to sell this or not. Now, again, it can go another 35 or 100% from you. We don't know it. But the point is, you have an urge कि भाई मैं क्या करूँ, रखूँ या बेचूँ. But if you are in that dilemma, then you can do one thing. If you're any stock having 35%, then you will see what alternative investment option you are having. What alternative investment option you are having. Say, for example, you are saying that I am having Suzlon. And since I am having Suzlon and government is on renewables, policies are on renewables. Suzlon was at 20 rupees or 40 rupees. Now I've gone to 65 rupees. Now I've gone to 80 rupees or whatsoever rupees. I expect it to go up by around 50% or it should get double in next 1 year. So if you think you can get any other better stock which will give you 50% better, that means if you're getting 35%, next year you're not getting 35, you are say getting around 40% returns or 45% of returns. Go for it. Similarly, if it is not 35, if your Sun Pharma is currently giving you 15% returns, but if you have got Suzlon, and if you think, not a recommendation per se, but just given it, because then there is RVNL, Tithagard and all those things. But if you think that it can give 25% returns, go for it. Simple. Because at the end of the day, what you're doing, you're already booking the profit now. You're already putting the profit. So you need to go from one, you need to scoop your profit. Otherwise, you will leave the profit onto the table. Again, the first rule to create the wealth is to save tax. That is the reason why I've talked about the tax loss harvesting. So again, tax planning, this is the tax loss harvesting I've given it just a pictorial representation of it. You have made capital gains, book your losses, reduce your tax bill. Khatam. No rocket science. Then now you also go for bonds or FDs. Now, when you go for FDs, you have to do the cash income laddering. Any financial goal that you are having within 5 years, that could be marriage, that could be education, or that could be etc. or car. Say, for example, just because interest rates are at the all-time high. Just because interest rates are at the all-time high and markets have also peaked up. Because markets have peaked up, so it's matlab there will be volatility. Aaj market upar hai, tomorrow it will be lower, so on and so forth. Now, if you have a fixed goal coming up anywhere between next 2 or 3 years, and FD interest rates are also all-time high, simply go for fixed deposits. So if I may say that Shriram of corporate deposits might be giving on a cumulative basis for a 5-year FD, maybe if I'm not wrong, is 10.25% or 10.5% cumulative. It will be around 8.75% on annualized, because there is a quarterly compounding. So therefore, I will rather, and also you have another option called as the Bajaj Finance, because HDFC has already merged with the HDFC Bank. So therefore, what I'm saying that, so you can put this. Now you can also do one thing. So if you don't know, you might be needing some money in 1 year or 2 years. So you can put bond or FDs in, say, for 2 years. If it comes in 2 years and you do not need it, you come here and put it here. Then you can extend it to, say, next 3 years or 4 years. Now this bond, this was for 1 year. So let me put it this way. Now this was for 1 year period. This was for, say, for example, 2 year period. This was for 3 year period. Now, when the 1 year bond period got matured, you invested here. So it became fourth. When this got matured here, you invested it here and you elongated it. Because even if the rate of interest cut would happen this year, it will be only 0.25%, not more than that, as far as India is concerned, because US is not quite confident in cutting the rate of interest. So unless until US doesn't cut the rate of interest, although Canada has cut it twice, repo rate, but the US has not. So India will still continue keeping the rates high and going very slow on. So therefore, this is the cash income laddering. So you can cumulative your this. So rather than having only a one single FD for 5 years, so you can plan it this way. कि भाई ठीक है, I can have the major part. Say, for example, say if I have say 10 lakhs, I can have 6 lakhs here. I can have 3 lakhs here, and I can have 1 lakh here. Say, for example, this way, so that you are able to capture maximum yield. Your objective is to capture maximum yield with no penalties. That is called as a cash laddering. So this is their session on this. I try to keep it as much high paced as possible. And now I am open to questions. I'm open to questions.